Good morning. All right. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Diane.
Hi. Nice to see you, Audrey.
You too.
All right. Come on in. Come on.
Recording in progress.
Yep. Turn that second sound off. What's happening there? That's breaking our ears a little bit. Someone's thickened. Oof. My ear. Tie this line out. Here we go. Actually, a little bit warmer than I thought in this corner of the house. All right. Okay, how's it going, guys? My VDI is having a day of not wanting to connect, but other than that, it's happening. Where are we going? There. It's connecting.
I'm not hearing anything.
Can anyone else hear me?
I can.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I
So
can.
I can as well.
all right, so who spoke? Herman, did you say you can't hear me? Yeah, I can see. Let me chat. Everyone go to the chat and sign in. And let me,
No sound.
mhm. So at least Herman can read that I can hear him, I hope. Try to, let me see, let me write just to Herman. Herman, try turning your volume up because your connection looks good from here. Mhm. I don't know if he's reading my messages. I'm trying to write to him, but I don't know if he's getting it. So Herman, sound is up. Okay, you can hear me. You should be able to hear me. I think your volume must be down. Can you read the chat? So, yeah, I don't know what to do because I'm making noise and everyone else is hearing me. And well, Herman, volume up. Turn the. I don't know how to. If he's not reading the chat, I don't know how to. Because I can see his connection from here. It's working, but if he's not hearing me, maybe it's the volume is down. I don't know. Okay.
Or maybe he has his headphones plugged in. I've done that before.
Let me try that. All right. I guess there's only so much I can do. If he's not reading the chat, then I don't know. Hopefully he'll connect at some point. Okay. Hi, everyone. Let's see. So I want you to make sure to get on to, oh, now he's writing to me, got no sound. Good. in. All right, other than that, everyone else can hear me. So I'm going to continue with the class. Okay, I'm done writing to him. Now I'm going to continue with the class. Trying my best, but I don't know. I don't know what else to do. So, okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry, trying to get Herman connected, but there's only so much I can do. One last thing I'll write to him. Maybe try disconnecting and connecting again. All right. Okay. All right. So I just dropped sit today for some reason. I don't know why, because the chair is next to me. Normally I don't sit. All right. Hi, everyone. Did you go into the chat to sign in? And if you have opened up your bridge and your Photoshop, I have to share my screen. Here we go. All right, so I'm gonna get going because I don't know how else to help Herman here. So I have my necklace in the back is catching up with my hair and it's bugging me here. All right, so today what we're gonna do is we're going to work with thank you, by the way, with all the photos you guys have been sending me. A few of you sent me some material that you're interested in working with. So I'm gonna bring some of that up after break. And letting you know if there's something here that we can do or not. Bruce sent me some line art that he's interested in coloring. So if you sent me something that you'd like me to, I got a ton of emails this week for many reasons. There's a lot going on in college and it all comes in through my pipeline. So if you have something that you'd like me to see if work in class that you've emailed me, because I got a lot of messages, put in the chat. Send me a chat saying, yes, I emailed you something so I can search for your name and my email. Because I received a bunch one day, not a bunch, I'm gonna say like 5. And I don't remember exactly who sent them to me. And when I scroll back, since they came in interspersed with 100 emails that day, I'm having a hard time tracking them. So it would really help me if you say, I sent you something, and then I can search for your name, and then your last email to me with that image will pop up. Okay. So I remember Bruce's, and I do remember at least 2 of you sent me something, and I cannot remember who those 2 are. So if you sent me something, a photo, a sample that you said you'd like me to work on or help you with or bring to class, as I suggested last week, put your name in the chat for me and I can then find it. Okay. All right. Bonnie's asking about batch actions. Sure, I can bring a little bit of that in there. Maybe I'll be able to bring it in later today. Okay. And no other thing in the chat. Oh, there we go. Oh, the photo of the monk. Okay, so let me see, Penelope. So you sent me the photo of the monk. Oh, the monk with the reflection. Yes. Reflections are not the easiest, but yes. There you go. I knew there was something there. Penelope. Thank you. And I think there was one more. I think there was one more. Okay. All right. Today we're going to begin working with a couple of the things that Photoshop has that are that make it special. Are it's a tool that it's not a tool, it's a feature that trying to explain, it's a feature that many tools in Photoshop have. And it's called content aware, but it's not one tool. It's rather a feature that they are adding to many tools. And over the years, they started at this point. The tool started having content aware features maybe 7 or 8 years ago. In fact, maybe even some of the CS6 products began to have a bit of content aware. But as time goes by, they're getting way better. And it's the place where you kind of see some Photoshop magic taking place. Now, content aware is Photoshop guessing things for you. So it still isn't complete control over your photo. But a lot of the times it gets you to a place where then you can make choices of your own about a photo. So, and then move on from there. And so it's artificial intelligence. It's Photoshop deciding based on pixels. It doesn't know if you've got a picture of a tree or a picture of a baby or a wave. It just looks at colors and shapes and pixels and tries to invent. So sometimes it goes incredibly well and sometimes it goes incredibly wrong, but most of the times content aware goes incredibly well. So I'm going to begin to show you a lot of the retouching tools have a lot of content aware in them, and you can choose to do the retouching tools that you control, or the ones where you see Photoshop can do it better at first. So we're going to begin working a little bit with some of those tools. And one photo that I want us to open is this one that has at the very top a crosswalk that I'm clicking on right now. So let's double click on that one and we'll get some.
I've got no sound.
Here. Herman, you again have no sound. Okay.
The teacher suggested exiting and reconnecting, which I did, and there's no sound.
Herman, let me see. Let me write again. I don't know what else to do. I can hear you fine. Other students can hear me fine. So maybe go to Zoom Tech. Let me send them to the tech student. 1 second, you guys. While you guys open the file, go to student tech support using this link, and let me.
Diana,
Yes.
I think you can go to the mute at the bottom left-hand side and click that.
He's not muted. He's not muted. He's not muted.
I know it's nothing to do mute.
Oh.
Just click it and it says select the microphone and select the speaker.
Yeah.
It should be same as system.
Yeah, I think he's got that because the way I
could you ask him, because that was the problem. I had the same problem. I had an ear pad.
Okay, so
when I disconnected, I didn't have any sound. But if I go to mute,
I know it's hard to write all of this though, because he can't hear me. So I'll check your microphone icon. Click on triangle to the right of the
mute
microphone mute icon, and you will see a menu. In that menu, check that your
same as
it's not the sound and microphone are same as system. I'll send him there, and then after that he needs to go get tech support.
Did he do that?
If this doesn't work, go to student tech support and get help from them. Okay, done. All right. Okay, so content aware. All right, so does everyone have the crosswalk opened up?
Yep.
All right. So in this example, we're going to use a couple of different content aware tools to see, again, Photoshop doesn't know if this is a crosswalk, if this is people, it has no idea. So we're going to begin to use some of the tools, which some of them are part of the retouching tools. Some of them are just part of copying and pasting tools to see what we can do if we want to modify this image. So the important thing here is to try to do this in a non-destructive manner, to not actually get rid of our own original pixels. And most of the content aware tools can be done in a non-destructive manner. There's one or two that cannot. So what does that mean? This is my background layer, and I don't want to have it be affected. At the very most, I would rather have it be, I want to have it happen in layers, all the changes like we've done before with adjustment layers and masking and things like that. But there are a few tools that will change it. So once we get to those, then, oh, tech support is not open on Fridays in summer, you're right. Yeah, okay. Let me just write that one down, sorry. Herman. Tech support is not open on Fridays. Okay, thanks for reminding me of that, Bonnie. Okay, sorry, I'm distracted. I'm not distracted. I'm trying to get Herman on, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, and this and during the year it's open on Fridays, but in the summer they have much less students, so they're not open on Fridays. They have less tech support people too. Okay. All right, so we're going to try to do this mainly in a non-destructive manner, but in order to protect from the ones that might be destructive, the solution would be to double this layer, the bottom layer, which we used to do as an automatic gesture in the past when we started working. And now we don't do it anymore automatically if you know how to use in a non-destructive way, because ideally we're not touching the pixels. But because here's the problem. If you double the layers, you double the size of your file. And every time you make another copy, you make it bigger and bigger. So if at all your computer is having an issue working because it's getting slow or sluggish, or, you know, it takes forever, every time you double your layers, you get, it's as if you had a file double the size. And down here at the bottom, let me give myself a little spotlight on my mouse. Here we go. So down here at the very bottom corner of your screen, right now it says 100%, meaning I'm zoomed into 100% to this image. But here on the right, there's a series of numbers which might or not be the same, because I think I might have changed them already. And this is stats of your image. And if you click on it, you can see some information that you have here. And then there's a little arrow at the end. And if you have the same thing as I have, what it's telling me is the size of this file, 26 inches by 17 inches. Well, for those of you who know, if an image is showing at 100% size, there's no chance that this can be printed at 26 by 17. And that reason it's saying that is just because this is at 72 PPI, which means it's a useless number for us to see here. Because who cares the size in inches? If it's at 72 PPI, that means it'll never be printed in inches. It'll be printed on screen. Thus, we don't care about its size. So instead of having a useless number here, go to this teensy arrow that finishes at the end here, and know that you could be seeing here other information. So you could be seeing document sizes, or you could be seeing document profile. Color RGB. So, you know, document dimensions is the one that it was defaulting to for me. Measurement scale, it's telling me that it's in pixels, et cetera, et cetera. So you can just choose different kinds of information to have here. Layer count, whatever. I want us all to go for a second to the document sizes. And in the document sizes, it's the one that used to default to in the past. Now in the new Photoshop, it's defaulting to the dimensions. So document size is the file size. So watch here, right now it says 7 megabytes / 7 megabytes, 703. Look what happens when I duplicate this layer, just for the just to have one for no reason whatsoever. And to do that, I would have to do Control or Command J, and I've duplicated my layer. And look down here. What it's telling me now is that 7 megabytes was my original file size, and now / 14 megabytes. It's actually completely duplicated. So I'm really working on 14 megabytes. If I were to do that one more time, another Command J, now I'm at 21 megabytes. So now this happens to be a small file, but this is not something to be done, let's just say, without consciously noticing that every time you duplicate your pixels, your file is getting more and more unwieldy. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to show you why there's another reason why you don't really want to do that duplicating of the entire pixel layer unless you truly, truly need it. So now I'm going to do Control Z and Control or Command Z again to go back to having one layer. Did you all get to see that effect? Now we're back down to 7 there. So anyway, that's not to say you shouldn't do it. So there's a few things that need it, but do it only for those few tools that can't be done in non-destructive manner, because you really are affecting the ability of your computer to work well. And just having all these extra layers there for security purposes, if you learn how to do things non-destructively, you're also going to learn how to make your Photoshop work much, let your Photoshop work much faster.
Diana, apparently I clicked on something and I have removed the document dimension check mark, and I don't know how to get out of the grid that I'm in and checking it back on.
Okay, so can you share, because I have no idea what might have happened. Sometimes I have an inkling. I do not know. So share your screen. First click the big green share button, and then you have to click again another button on the right that says share. So there we go. All right. So
Click
that there is fine. So you're asking me about what, about the grid that's appearing in front of you, or what?
Yeah, I
Oh,
unchecked something and I don't know which one it was and how to check it. I think it was document dimensions.
yeah, no, it's fine. I had sent you to document sizes, which you're in right now, which
Okay.
is fine, which is what I wanted you to do. And originally it was document dimensions. So you go up with your mouse and choose document dimensions. Just go choose it. Yeah.
Nothing happens. I'm wondering if my mouse has died.
It's the color is gray. That's funny. It should be dark and black.
No, so what you have, let me stop for a minute. It doesn't matter what's happening. I want to see what's happening up at top. So let go of that for a
Is that
second.
crop preview?
Can you move your mouse out of that for a minute, Penelope? Move up to your tools, to your layers. You've created like an extra layer down here at the bottom. Go ahead and say escape. You're in a crop mode. Okay. See on the right, you have some weird stuff going on. So you're in a crop mode. So now hit your escape key. There you go. So now you're in regular mode. Okay, now go back to the document size and whatever, because you were in this in between crop mode. Take your crop tool out. Go to your top tool, the move tool. Don't be in the crop tool.
Oh, where is it?
The top one, yeah. Top left. Yeah, that double-headed arrow, four-headed arrow. Yeah, click
That
on that.
one?
Yeah,
Okay.
click on it. Make a click. Okay. There you go. And now you can go back down there and choose wisely. You were in a semi-crop mode, and so everything was not happening because it was not letting you do it. There you go. Now that you've left that crop mode, you can go choose document dimensions or whatever you want.
Okay, whatever you say.
Mhm.
How can we see a document size and dimensions? That's not possible.
At the same time?
Yeah.
No. I mean, you can do that all in the window for image size, but just as a quick little check like that, you can choose which one to, but not.
Oh, you switch it.
You switch it. Yeah, you switch to that.
Got it.
Switch to one or to the other. You have to keep switching. Yeah. So if I want to see one, I want to see timing, you know, if I were to, this is 1 second, it means nothing to me now because I'm not doing a video. But if I were editing video, this one would matter. So you choose whichever one matters to you. So I might have switched the document sizes to show you how this mattered to not duplicate. But other than that, you can only see one at a time down there.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. So we're going to attempt to do most of the things that we can do in a non-destructive manner. And when necessary, we're going to duplicate our background. Okay, so now let's head down to, in order to do this non-destructive things, usually we need to do it in a separate layer. Okay, so a separate layer though, that's empty, not a duplicate layer of pixels. So let's go to the little plus sign that shows up at the bottom of the layers and click one. And we get an empty layer. And that empty layer that's on top now is going to weigh nothing. If you look at the document size between 703/703, that's a layer that has not added any pixel weight, so to say, any size to our image. Does that make sense? So now we're going to apply some tools onto this second layer. And over here on the top left, I have a series of tools that we have used last few weeks. We used a couple of the selection tools when we were making selections, and those are content aware tools, obviously, in the sense that they're intelligent, artificial intelligence trying to look and see what is considered the object or the subject that has to be chosen. But the ones that we're going to use today are these down here, these four, which right under the eyedropper, which are spot healing tool brush, healing tool brush, patch tool, content to remove tool. That one even has it in the name. These are all tools that let us alter things in our image and that we can do our best to do it ourselves, or we can let Photoshop do it for us. So in this new layer, okay, what we're going to do first is we're going to see if Photoshop can eliminate things for us and without us doing any work. So let's go to the top one of these four tools, which is the spot healing brush tool. So there's two little band-aid looking like things here. The top one is a spot healing brush tool. And this is the perfect one for when you have something that you want to get rid of, blemishes, pimples, marks, dusts, that kind of thing. As you can see, we don't have any of that in this image. So let's just invent that a couple of these little things that are on the crosswalk are things that are blemishes, right? So we'll just use it 1 or 2 times for that so you see its potential. Now, when you first choose that tool, when you move your mouse out, you might have a big circle, a small circle. See how I have this circle here? This is the size of my brush, and it can be humongous or small. So let me first show you how I'm doing that. Because the important thing with this tool is to not make it much bigger than the blemish itself. So say that I want to get rid of that little spot blemish that you see there. I would not want to do that with a tool this big. I would want to make it small enough to be barely bigger than the blemish. You see where I'm working? And I'm not putting the spotlight on this because I need you guys to see my tool working. So let me just get up much closer. So I'm gonna go much closer, even though it pixelates the image so you can really see what's happening. So I'm going to choose this little blemish here. So now my mouse, I'm making bigger or smaller, just like I did last week with the brush for the masking. I'm making it bigger or smaller by using the brackets that are on the right side of the letter P. And once I have it barely bigger than the blemish, so just a little bigger than the blemish, I'm going to just give it one quick click. And you know what, I forgot to change the hardness of the brush, so now that didn't work too well, so I'm going to undo. Let's move over here because I don't know what hardness you have on your brush, and notice that at the very top it says 25. That's the size of my pixels of my brush, how many pixels my brush has. But also the next thing is how hard my brush is. And hard as 6% is basically very, 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 very feathered. Hardness at 100% is very, very hard. Certainly don't want a very hard one, but I don't want so much feathering in this. So I'm gonna go with, I don't know, 60 or 7%. And it's a matter of testing. So I'm gonna put it somewhere over there and see if it works, meaning my brush will not be totally sharp, but it'll be pretty crisp. And now when I click one time, there you go. That's how quickly it eliminated that mark. Now I'm going to move over to this little one here, and I'm going to move my brush down to be only a little bit bigger than that, and so on and so forth. Now, why do I say that we need to have it be a little bit bigger than the blemish? Is because this tool is inventing pixels, okay? It's looking at something, and the way it knows how to fix this is because it's looking around the little circle that you just marked. So if I just have a blemish right there, let me choose another blemish that might be relatively biggish.
Diana, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I keep getting a message saying that I need to alt click
Oh,
to
you've got,
define a source point. What does that mean?
yeah, you have the second tool. You have the healing brush. You need to move up to the top one, the spot healing brush.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
They operate very differently.
Gotcha.
Another thing that I probably forgot to tell you, make sure that sample all layers is turned on. So up here at the top, you need to make sure this check mark is turned on. If this is turned off, we're working on this top layer, right? And so when I try to make something disappear, nothing's happening. See, it's like it's not working. And that's might have been happening to some of you guys, and you were not saying that. And it's because it's trying to fix things on its own layer. And guess what? There's nothing on this layer. So you need to see sample all layers so that on this layer, you are fixing things that are below it. And now it begins to work. When I click on this, it fixes what's underneath. Okay. So I was about to explain how the tool works, and how it works is, so let me go here to this one that's relatively biggish. So I'm going to make my mouse a little bit bigger. So I hope you see I'm down here. But what the tool does is it looks right outside the perimeter of the tool, outside that circle. The tool's going to look for pixels over there to replace the pixels that are inside your circle. That's why you don't want to have a huge tool to fix something tiny. And right now that tool looks ridiculous, it looks humongous, but if I were to try to target that that blemish right there, that little white blemish right there, and if I just were to make a something that's, you can't see my shape, but I'm having this size over here, it would work technically. So let me get bigger. It would work, but it would be replacing, let me just get closer. It would be replacing, and you can't see it on white. So you'd be replacing everything that's in between this circle instead of just that blemish, because it'll go around. And so you're replacing a ton of original pixels with a ton, with fixing a lot of stuff you don't need to fix. That's why you want to approach as much as you can. Okay, so now that's why we use this for blemishes and stuff. It's very efficient. Now, that said, what else can it do? So I'm going to now say controller command 0, because yeah, so there you go. If this were a face and it were full of pimples or other things like that, that would have worked. But what if you want to do something much bigger? So now I am going to get a bigger tool. And if I look here at the different brushes that I have here, the automatic brush that's showing up is this big circle, right? So what if I were to want to get rid, well, here, if I were to want to get rid of one of these guys, would it work? Well, let's see. Remember I told you how, and now this is the brush that I'm making it about as big as one of these guys. What are these called? Manhole covers. So I'm trying to make the brush, it's bad. It's the first time I give this example with this photo, and I'm noticing that the circle is very hard to show on the gray asphalt. So see if I try to get something as big as this gone, right? And I click in here. I told you that it chooses from around and it replaces what's inside. So why didn't it bring white stripes inside? You know what I mean? Because you would have thought that it could bring white stripes. Look at that. That was pretty amazing, wasn't it? Well, because of the whole content aware, the whole art. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to do Control Z again. And this is where I was at. And I made my brush be one big brush. And it knows that, I guess, I don't know how artificial intelligence does it. This part, I don't know. But it looks at the context of the photo and it probably can see that the stripes are repeating and in one area and that that's not what's wanted versus what's surrounding this. Because other than that, it wouldn't explain it. So this is where the tool is getting much more intelligent. So like 10 years ago when this tool started, it would have brought in a bunch of stripes. Now it looks at that and it goes, you probably don't need that. The second time I just made my tool smaller, right? And so I tried to make it be right around the size of the metal part instead of the cement. Okay, so I just made it smaller. And this time it got confused because with the tool leaving the cement out, which is what I made it do, then it didn't really know how to fix it. It tried to bring some of that. It left a little bit of card. So what you do with your, see how my tool was just the size of that? So I'm going to undo that again. And you have to try. Sometimes it needs a bit more. Sometimes I need a bit less. Now I've made it so big that I'm including some of the white. And now when it tries to replace it, it became kind of weird, like it's splattering some gray around. It didn't repeat my whites, but it got kind of confused. So you have to try a few times. Sometimes it really is amazing how well it does, and other times it's not. But if you put it in the right spot right now, which is a bit bigger than the cement, but not touching the white, and click one time, so there you go. It's like magic, almost like Photoshop magic, right? Now, is it perfect? No, I can see some edges there. I can try it one more time. I'm going to put the edge there. Let's see if I can do it that way. Let's see. I got a bit too much this time, yeah. So I'm going to try again with one less. Here's my edge one last time. There you go. I think that's probably my best attempt. Now I'm going to make my mouse smaller so that you can see my mouse better. Yet there's a bit of weirdness here around the edges where that used to be. Okay. And I can always go fix that. Maybe again with one of these clicks. Okay. And when I said a bit of weirdness, if I approach, you might not have seen it from afar, but you see how there's some strange little things left over. So whenever you use one of these tools, you definitely need to go up close to see if something is happening that's, you know, still needs to be fixed again. And you could try the same tool again to fix it. Like, that looks like a weird thing. So I'm going to just kind of click around a little bit to see if it is in there. And other times you're going to have to resort to a different tool that I'm going to show you a little bit later to fix the slight weirdnesses that occurred. But yeah, that was, whoops, I didn't mean to go down that much. That was one thing that you can do. Now that happened to be a round circle for a round shape. What about if I want to get rid of one of these yellow lines? I can very easily click on this and have it work, right? But look at how many pixels got replaced. Salud. Now, look at how many pixels got replaced. That entire circle of pixels got replaced, which is unnecessary. So we could try to reshape our mouse a little bit. This worked when we were trying to have a round mouse for a round circle for a round shape. But here it would be a bit of a waste. Before I have us, well, here, let me just do that for a second, because every little pixel under that thing just got changed. And ideally, I don't want to change pixels that are good. Let me show you what's happening here in this layer. So if I turn this eyeball, this is where we're doing our spot healing. Let me just write spot healing tool, so we know that this layer is getting spot healing. If I turn it off, my original, all the little pimples, so to say, all the little blemishes that I had before, and this thing shows up, and this thing shows up again. So my original background image has not been affected, all the changes that happened here on this layer. And let's see what that layer looks like without the background now. And here it is. Here's my layer without that background. It's got a huge replacement of pixels here, which were necessary because I took off all that stuff. But over here, it's replacing a whole bunch of pixels that weren't necessary. I really only needed to replace the piece that was the yellow line. And then here's lots of teensy little dots, which is where I fixed the little blemishes. You see that? So I'm going to turn this on again so it looks seamless. So there's two solutions to something like that. One is masking it and then erasing the unnecessary stuff. So that's one solution. And since we know, you know, I'm gonna show you that secondary because I don't want to add a mask right now to this, but that would be one solution. Another solution that sometimes works is to change the shape of my brush. So for this one here, let's attempt to change the shape of the brush. So I'm going to head over here to where I have my brushes and see how, and this one is something, by the way, for those who've seen this demonstrated many times, I've never shown this before. I can go ahead and change the angle and the roundness of my brush a little bit here with numbers. So I could go ahead and try, I don't know, let's try 50%. And I'm going to hit the tab there and look see how I got an oval now. You see that? See, I don't know if you can see my mouse. It's an oval now. So that would allow me to not have to use up so much extra space. So now if I go click right over here, I'm not adding so much extra material. So there you go. That's how much pixels one of them replaced, and this is how many pixels the second replaced. Do you see what I see that?
Yeah.
I did.
That's
It's not
very
perfect.
good.
I'm not making a brush the shape of that little yellow line, but I'm at least reducing a little so that it doesn't, you know, become so problematic. I could also, in this case, that line was a straight line. Let me undo that so we have it. Command Z, Controller Command Z. So this, in this case, it was, sorry, in this case, it was a pretty straight line, but if it had been angled, then I could have also changed the angle. So maybe I could have had this be 45-degree angle. So here comes my brush at a 45-degree angle. It doesn't apply for this, but sometimes it might apply for something else that you want a 45-degree angle. Now, let me actually, I don't know, let me try it on this one. Now, this is much more complicated. There's a lot going over here, right? There's a lot going on over here. So let me see. I'm going to go for a 40-degree angle. No, it's the other way around. 50-degree angle. Is that going to, yeah, 50-degree angle might look a bit bigger. And now I'm trying to see if I can cover this person, maybe not about angles a little bit. You can also drag it here, which is going to be better for me than putting in angles. See how I'm moving this here? So I'm just maybe changing the angle of this a little bit until, there we go. It seems to be the angle of this work of this person. And I'm going to make it like that. There we go. And then I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. So it's only about as big as the person. And now I'm going to give it a try. I'm about ready to give it a try. And I'm making it smaller again with you know, whoops. Come on, somewhere over there. Nope, a bit bigger. I'm going to use my I'm moving it up there. About, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to give it a click and see what Photoshop makes of all of this that's going on and see if it can repeat the pattern of white. Almost. I'm going to undo. I think the tool needs to be a little bit bigger. Let me try there again. Not bad. See, the problem it's having is this shadow is different than this person is casting a shadow right here. So although it's replacing the person, it's having a bit of an issue down at the bottom. Let me move the angle of my tool a little bit more. And try to capture not so much the front stuff, but let's see if I can capture some of that shadow and click one more time. All right, it's not perfect. Lines are very hard, but I could kind of fix that with another tool that I'm going to show you next. So that's not a bad start. I'm going to try if I can move the angle a little bit more and give it one more attempt down.
It's hard.
Yeah, well, this is a very complicated shape that I would have never thought this tool could handle. This, I would have always resorted to another tool. So I'm pretty amazed that doing this, I got a bit bigger and it's kind of working. So I've never would have used this tool. I would have used the second one, the healing tool, for something like this. So this is what I'm noticing is what I need to do is I need to grab the person, but also it's shadow, that person's shadow that is seeming to be.
Oh, I see.
And so now that is doing, I left the hand out. That's doing pretty well. Look at that. That one's pretty good. I probably still would have preferred to get the other tool, but I'm very impressed with what this did. Now I have to go in and fix a bit of those shadows and stuff. So once again, here's what Photoshop is able to figure out and do. I'm very impressed by that myself. Given what's that?
You should. I think it is very detailed work.
Yeah, and every time as the years go by and I teach this tool, I'm able to show more of its capability because it's getting more and more intelligent. Whereas before it would barely fix the blemish. Now I'm just showing the blemish as an offshoot of what it can do, because it can really replace, as you can see, that was a very complicated thing to replace. This is a shape that has a lot, and it has to not only match. This was easy-ish. It just had to put in more gray around it, same as this. But here it had to match the lighting, the stripes, the positioning, the shapes, and yet it did an almost perfect job. Now, whatever's left there to be fixed, I can now work with my other tools to fix. So for people like me who have been using Photoshop forever, maybe Bonnie, this is like magic, right? It's like, oh my God, how is this possible? Right, Bonnie? And he's like, we're like, whoa, this is just crazy good. So anyway, but you need to bring your brush. So the next time you come to this tool, that's going to basically be your brush. So you need to go back and set it back to the basic brush to start with if you're left with this brush, right? And it might not, obviously it won't work for other stuff.
Diana, dragging it is really good too, toward that shade.
It is. My concern with dragging this tool is to make sure that you're not covering too much. Because say, if I were to just drag this tool across all of that, right? Well, I didn't get the top very well, but so it's going to do weird stuff. But you have
With
to
the angle going down.
dragging tends to
45 degrees.
get too much, right? But it might work. So yeah, so if you mean dragging down to cover some
Yes,
of the person, let me see. If I use the same tool, let me undo until I get her back. Whoops. Yeah, I have to undo many times. There we go. Let me get the brush bigger again. So dragging a little bit down to cover that.
More. To cover that
Yeah,
shape.
but my lines,
Cover the
I'm
shape.
worried that my lines wouldn't,
Line up, huh?
maybe if I go sideways, my lines are not, I preferred the one click that I did.
Mhm.
Because the lines don't have, now I'm not getting such a good,
Yeah.
so it's
Very difficult.
it's a picky one, right? But anyway, so now that I did, so now let's do a couple of bad ones. So here I'm going to do one that hopefully will be bad. And another way, if you want to undo something that you've done in the past, you can go up to the history tool, and I just wanted to show you, and you can see that I have different choices. So here's my last healing brush. Here's all the layer visibilities. That's when I was turning on and off the eyeballs. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of everything. Let me see. There we go. I'm going to bring back that one. So let's all bring back, I don't know if it's a guy or a woman, I called it a woman, but let's go ahead and bring back this one and leave only the, so go back to your history as far as it takes in all your attempts backwards up. Not too much. We don't want to get rid of all our changes, but just enough to get rid of whatever you did around the side, the crosswalk. Okay. And I'm going to show you a couple of our tools that we can use here. And then over here, I'm going to angle the tool again to get this little one here. I'm going to make it smaller. And what I'm noticing, interestingly enough, is that the brackets tool that I trying to make my when I'm using these angles. When you're in these little boxes, it doesn't let you just use the, there we go. It doesn't let you use the bracket. So I'm going to get it the right size, and then I'm going to change the angle, because the moment I'm in there, there we go. So now I'm going to reduce this one again, because I wanted to show you one more thing of what we could have done there. So in my back and forth of that, I had eliminated this, and I just wanted to show you that if you don't want to go to the problem of changing the shape of your tool, like we did here, then how could I have solved the fact that my first tool was round and got so much of it, since I did it in a non-destructive manner? Had this been done on the piece itself, I would have been very destructive. I would have gotten rid of a ton of pixels unnecessarily. But in this case, I did it on an upper layer. So what we can do is we can then delete some of those pixels. And I'm going to not do it here because you won't be able to notice what I'm doing. And that's why I'm going to do it here. I'm going to delete the fact that I got rid of some of those pixels. So I'm going to choose the eraser tool down here. And my eraser tool right now is humongous. Let me bring it down also to size. And maybe I can erase the extra, see what I mean? Tools that the extra bits of it that I didn't need, right? So let me just show you again. I had the first attempt here, I had too many pixels captured when I really needed only, and I'm giving you this as an example of what I needed. But if I erase it here with the erasing tool, right? Here's the problem with doing that. I can't see what I'm erasing. I'm kind of guessing, and I'm only guessing because of this. But if I erased wrong, which I now probably did, because I think that line is, I'm not noticing. And then when I turn this on again, well, there you go. See, I erased it wrong. I erased a bit too much, right? So instead of erasing blindly, which is what I was just doing, where I was, and actually I didn't do such a bad job. Let me do a worse job. There you go. Erasing blindly. I didn't know what I was erasing. So instead of that, I'm going to undo my erases. So let me get rid of all these erasers. So in the history, I'm going to go up and down here where it says eraser, 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 and I'm going to open up right before the top of my first eraser. See? And that erases all my erasing that I've done. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little mask here, which is what I taught you to do last week. A lot of people go, why don't you just erase instead of masking? Because erasing is permanent. See? Once again, I'm going to go to the history and show you my erasing. If I erase, if I erase, I'm permanently erasing my fix, right? And if it's not good enough, which it isn't, the only solution I have is to once again use my tool to redo this, because that is gone. And so erasing, even on a non-destructive fixed layer that we're doing. Erasing is a permanent damage to the pixels that we fixed, so to say, right? So I'm gonna undo the last few erasings. And instead, I'm going to mask this layer. And now I can do it seeing. And so I'm going to add a little mask right here. Okay, so I'm going to add a mask right here by going down and clicking on this mask, which right now is empty because I didn't have a selection ahead. It's just an empty mask. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the opposite of the color that the mask is. If the mask is white, I'm going to choose black. So I'm going to use a brush. So remember, on a mask, we use a brush and we paint on some color, and I paint on some black. And so now here I have my brush, and I'm going to make a big brush so it can be very obvious. And I'm going to the area that I had my fixings, and I need to turn this off for a second to, here we go, because I couldn't see it. And now I can erase on my mask part of those pixels, right? And now that I found where it is, I can erase part of those pixels, and now I've erased all of it, you know, which sounds ridiculous, but now I can just with white, bring that in again and just use those fixed pixels only on the right thing. So if you now look at my original mask, I just have a fix on exactly the thing that I need and nothing else. Okay, let me, I'm using the wrong color. Here we go. So
Gonna
now,
be 10 o'clock in 3 minutes.
what's that?
Oh, sorry.
So now with masking, I was able to go in and mask fix the fact that, so here's my entire, this is the entire thing I had originally brought in as a fix with a round circle, right? And if for some shapes you can't just modify the shape of your brush because you have a, you know, a very complicated kind of shape, then you can make a big little spot like that, add a mask, and then just mask out what you don't want. So, but doing it this way right now, I'm doing a little bit blindly, but I kind of have a feeling it's probably good. But if I did too much of it, then I just change the color from black to white and I bring some of it back in. Okay, so now let's see how well I guessed. Not too bad, but now that I see it, I can guess more correctly. All right, so basically what I'm doing is I've been adding and deleting from my mask, and now let me show you the mask again. And I've made so many back and forth that I've made a little bit of a mess here, but that basically shows you that I'm letting through. So in fact, let me just make a clean mask here. I'm gonna brush again with, I'm gonna just make it all completely white again so that I don't have to have so much. And now I'm gonna go in and put black only on what I need, which is, I'm gonna put the mouse right there. There we go. So now I'm just gonna put black exactly on that and nothing else. So there's my mask now that it's done perfectly well, just that little bit.
No.
So you have complete control once you have a mask of whatever is happening underneath. I didn't like launch into a beginning reminder of what masking was. So hopefully you're able to follow this, but I'm pretty sure that I've left some of you struggling and scratching your heads. So ask me questions now.
Okay. So if we lower the opacity for that bottom layer after unlock, we can do better job, right?
Lower the opacity of the,
Bottom layer.
and why would we, the bottom layer, the pixel layer?
Yes. So instead of doing blindly, we can do it while we're looking at the both picture and doing
The top layer, then you would want to bring down the opacity, not the bottom, right?
no, bottom.
The
Bottom.
opacity of
Oh.
the bottom layer makes no difference.
It doesn't make any difference?
No, the top one maybe would work because if I bring down the
But
opacity,
maybe you're right. You know, I didn't think
see
about
what's
that.
underneath a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
think you're right.
No, maybe the top one might help you decide where to brush. So yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah. I think
this one
you're right. Totally.
This
Yeah.
one here is covering completely. So say that I wanted to fix that one to be more accurate. What she's saying is if I bring this down to be a little bit more opaque, I can see through it. And then I can do a better job of knowing where to mask and erase. So that's true. But yeah, you got that, fine. But since for some people masking is new, that's a little bit too, I know, Fujier, for you, it's not new. By the way, Fujier had no idea when she started taking my classes about any of this. So the fact that she can ask these advanced questions is goes to show how practice makes perfect. So yeah, that's a great suggestion, but I don't want to complicate the issue at this point for a lot of people.
Diana, do you want to take us through that exercise real quick? Because I was watching but not doing. Or I could just watch it in the recording and do it then.
Yeah, you can do it twice.
Ideally, when I am showing something like this, you would have done it and then ask me questions. When you see the whole exercise, you mean just this last little bit of masking or the whole thing?
I have the 2 layers, and on the masking layer, I've got 2 white squares, and that's about as far as I've gotten because when I keep changing screens, I can't tell what you're doing on the little screen. It's hard enough to see on the big screen. And when I switch to my screen, I get lost between. So I was watching.
You switch
Sorry.
screens, that's hard. If you're not doing half and half a screen, it's harder. When you switch back and forth, you stop seeing what I'm doing. I see what you mean. Ideally, hopefully you can do half your screen with me, half your screen with Photoshop. But if you have a tiny screen, then plan B is to switch screens. And yeah, you missed part of my explanation. So let me just show you once again. I'm going to get rid of this layer of the mask. I'm going to delete the mask, and I'm just going to do that again, where I'm showing you that what's happening here is that I had too much taking, and in this case, it might not affect it, but sometimes it does affect it because you have other things in here that you didn't want to get rid of. You have too much of a fix for just something that should have been a line. So instead of erasing it blindly, what I showed was putting on a mask, and this is all it took to put on a mask. You go down to this little icon and add the mask. And then in the mask, you affect it by changing it with them. So right now, if the mask is white, then that tells me that I need to paint with black, and I've got a black brush. And then I'll go ahead and I'll start brushing away with black on the areas that I don't want. And let me just show you what Fujier was saying. Here I'm doing it a little bit blindly, but if I actually make this be a little bit more transparent, if this were on, I would kind of see what to delete. I want to get rid of that and that. And then when I bring it back up, that would be pretty perfect. So that was a great suggestion. So now I've ended up with this masking exactly over my yellow brick instead of having that whole circle change. Anyway, it's getting a little bit into the minutia. It's just showing you how easily we can combine the different things that I've been teaching you. Now I've just taught you about this tool that helps you non-destructively eliminate things that you don't want, and the masking that we used the other day to more appropriately reshape that which we just eliminated. Okay, so all right, any questions about this piece? Does anyone need something else with this before we continue? And questions about the masking, for whom it is or isn't working? Herman, can you hear us now? Yeah, the fact that you
Yes.
responded means you can hear me.
Hey, yes.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So everything we just did, turn this on and off, was done non-destructively on this layer. Okay. I eliminated those two lines plus this circle, plus a lot of little blemishes, and it never affected my original, right? Let's go ahead and save as and make this be a new file, because by now it used to be a flat JPEG. Now it can only be a layered file. I'm gonna save it in my drive.
It is very beneficial, Diana. I didn't know that you can do with a mask eraser. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very excellent.
People, when they wonder how good or worth it masks are, you can use masks everywhere.
Yeah, I never use it that way. That's really great.
So now that's another way of showing you even your fixes can be masked to be made better. There's so much, I mean, I can't even begin to explain to you the depth and breadth of where I use masks. This is beginning because sometimes I show you anyway, you guys are getting it. And so I'm able to show you a little bit more than I show other times. You guys are doing well. So.
Deanna,
Mhm.
this is Jacob. I'm having problems bringing it back from the mask. It keeps erasing itself. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so hold on, I'm having a little technical issue here with my your lamp, the whole sound, it's pushing things around and I'm about to lose 1 second. Yikes. All right, that was a mess, but okay. I was doing digital design techniques yesterday. I had a magazine here I was showing and it was on top of, okay, good. I think my desktop is not about to collapse on me. Okay. So do you want to share your screen, Jacob, so I can see what your question is? I'm going to stop my share. Well, Jacob is working on getting his running. I wanted to say, Bruce, that the recoloring of, okay, here we go. All right, so tell me what's happening.
Okay, let me back it up.
Okay. I'm not sure what the question is yet.
I think
Trying
Diana,
to bring back
color
the
is not
yellow line.
black and white on the left-hand side.
Hold on, I'm trying to listen to Jacob.
I'm trying to bring, okay, so I've got the yellow line. I'm going to eliminate it much larger than I want to.
You're trying to redo it. Okay, so redo it. Go ahead and get the big eliminating thing. Yeah, okay. And you're on Zoom and sharing your screen, so it's slower. Okay, so there you go.
So I got that.
Now you want to add the mask.
Okay, now I'm going to add the mask.
Uh-huh. Okay. And now you have to grab a brush. It wouldn't be with this tool. You would have to change tool to your brush. Yeah. Mhm, okay. And so now you need to change the shape of your brush. There you go. Okay. And now if you want to, now there you've uncovered what you want to see. So change color again, go back to white and drag across that guy again.
That was the problem. I hadn't changed to the brush.
And change the brush, yeah. And now you can go and with the black brush, just go underneath, above and below where that line should be.
Yeah, I can go. Okay.
And it is good to do that, to kind of edge around all four sides, and then you know how to. Now, again, the sample is really good in one sense because it's showing, by the way, oh, look, tech support was amazing. So they did help you. Were they there today on Friday?
Yes,
All right. No, that's weird. They're normally, the schedule says they're not there on Friday and they were able to, so what was it? Just so I know, what did they say you had to do to fix your sound?
I had to go to a little arrow next to the mute
Yeah.
microphone and hit the right sound.
Yeah.
It was on headphones and it should have been on external speakers.
And by the way, different people in this class suggested that to you and I wrote that to you, but it's very hard on a chat to explain those kind of things. So you need someone, you know, who can speak to you. So I'm glad that worked. So
Yeah, it was
everyone
wonderful.
here was right, we're right, but it was hard for me to get the message to our chat. So well done. Sue, yes, I did get your message. Thank you. I can't believe it. Sue is in Tahiti right now in the middle of her vacation and she's checking in into the class. So well done for being a stalwart, you know, attendee. Thank you, Sue. Now, in fact, I wanted to say that that I'll be I'm hoping I'll know by the end of this weekend, but I'm hoping to be in Argentina visiting my mom, who is turning 88, and I haven't seen her because of this COVID for 2 years now, in like 3 weeks. So the second Photoshop class of summer 2, I'll be teaching 2 of the classes from Argentina because I have Photoshop to be teaching and I'll be over there. So one of the few advantages of this whole angle and thing
It's amazing.
is that we can be somewhere else and still be either attending class, or in my case, I will be teaching class
Yeah,
over there.
taking care of your mom at the same time.
Yeah, so that'll be
It's
fun.
great.
I have to buy the ticket, so then I'll know exactly what the dates will be. But
Lucky you to
Okay.
be able to go back.
I hope so. All right. So hopefully, so that's the healing, the spot healing tool, and use it in a few more advanced ways. Let me just say that when we go back to that spot healing tool, our shape will be whatever it is. So at that point, you need to either remember how to do this, or just in case, let's go and reset it to oh, thank you. Joyce reminds me also in the digital design techniques and the illustration, you keep reminding me. Thank you so much. I always have to have someone who's good at that. Someone who can immediately catch me. Otherwise, everyone's trying to be too polite and not telling me, and then 10 minutes go by, right? So thank you, Joyce. All right, so I was saying, let's go back and reshape that brush so that it doesn't have that weird angle for the next time that you try to use the brush. Okay, so here I went back to roundness 100%, and then that alone takes away the angle, because when it's roundness 100%, it can only be round. Okay, whoops, I didn't mean to click on it, but then there you go. Just so that in the future, when you start the brush, it starts round and you get to choose that angle if you want to, because 99% of the times it's small enough, it's usually used for something small, and it's a good enough choice to do it this way.
Deanna,
Yes.
when you said that you couldn't change the size of the angled brush using the right and left
Just that I was
keys.
in them, that's why. When you're in them, you can't, because you're writing a bracket, see? So you have to see up here, I'm in one of these, and when you do that and you try to do the bracket, it doesn't understand it because you need numbers. So you have to click away from this and have like be in a mode. When you go back in, they're dark. Now the angle brackets work. But when you're inside one of those guys and you try and you didn't even know you're in there and you're trying to use the brackets, see that it thinks that I'm writing brackets. And so then when you try to get that to work, it tells you no, invalid numeric entry, because your brackets in there instead of a number. Okay.
Well, I could move mine, so I wondered why. So the explanation is you had that dialog box open and your cursor in it. Because I was able to change resize mine.
Yeah,
using
except for mine, because of how I was doing it, I was getting in
Okay.
to the
Okay.
number, and that's why. So I just had to get out of that mode before it worked.
I
All
see.
right. And then yes, it goes up and down. All right. Make sure you've saved because we're gonna move on
I
to,
have a question.
yes?
Do
Joyce?
you typically want to create a mask first before you spot heal anything, or because I noticed that if you do it the way that we did it, and you're trying to change the second line where you just did the circle, or I guess the first one, that you don't actually see what you're like masking again or unmasking. It kind of confuses me because the mask is a different color than previously. Also.
So do you want to create the mask ahead of time is what you were saying at the beginning, or?
Yeah, because so before you do spot healing, do you typically want to create a mask first so you kind of know what you're doing, or, like, so you're doing it on the mask versus if you're doing it on a new layer?
No, because it's a good question. No, the mask, you don't want to do that because the healing is going to be done on a pixel layer. This portion is the pixel layer. So you're just inventing new pixels. So you can't really do that on a mask. And most of the time, if you adjust your brush shape and size, that's all it needs. It just needs a pixel layer above your pixels. It's only in the case that you have something that's a completely different shape. And even here, this was unnecessary because I was able to get an oval to cut it. So that was just to show you that if you can't, then we could have used the masking. But for the most part, I don't usually mask too much of my retouchings. So no, I would only put in a mask if necessary, if it went overboard. So no, I wouldn't preemptively put in a mask in there. I would just first try to retouch and see if it works. And then if something really didn't work, then I can add a mask to back off a bit on my changes.
Okay, and I have a secondary question.
What's that?
So I have a secondary question. Last time when we were working with the gorilla, the mask was black and we were erasing to make it white, but why is it flipped this time in terms of the color of the mask?
Yeah, so depending on what you need to affect, but the other two masks, she's asking about the gorilla mask, and what was the other thing that we did last week? We did let me go back to Bridge so I can remember.
The cat eyes.
We did the gorilla, and then
The cat eyes.
And both of these times we were using layer adjustment masks, which meaning we were adjusting something, which was a color. And both times this time we were taking some blue away, but we did it without a selection. And on the mask, we were changing the color eyes, which we also did this time with a pre-selection. But we were doing something called layer adjustment masks. This time, let me go back to Photoshop. And so those layer adjustment masks happened above the image versus this is a mask straight on to because believe it or not, this had nothing to do with it. This were the pixels and this is what I was trying to fix. So this mask is right on top of the pixels I'm trying to fix. So this is a layer mask versus a layer adjustment mask. Let me explain a little bit more about that, by the way, because otherwise that'll be left to be very confusing. So let's save this file. I'm going to open a different file to explain the differences between a layer and adjustment mask and a layer mask, and then you'll understand the reasoning behind your question is good. So save that file. Let's go back to Bridge. And now I want us to open, where's the sample I had for layer mask? Probably, I'm trying to look for one that's sharp enough to make this do this in a good way. Okay, let's go to this one. This is like the edge of a cactus kind of thing. Okay, so it's a JPEG. So if we double click, it'll go straight into Photoshop. Double click and open that. Let me know if you found it. Okay, so everyone got this one opened up? All right, so an adjustment layer mask will be if we want to adjust or change the color of the color or the or the lightness value, darkness, exposure value, right, of something. And so let's go ahead and do a pre-selection. Let's pre-select this cactus area. I'm interested in seeing, see, I'm always testing the whole artificial intelligence. I'm testing to see how intelligent Photoshop will be. Will it know how to separate these two things? So instead of me using the typical tool I would use to select this, I'm curious. Let's go over to the selection tool, which is the fourth one down. And it's the object selection tool. And remember, if you click and hold, there's three kinds. Let's just be on, no matter which one of these you are, when you click one of these, at the top, you get the select subject. And I want to see what Photoshop thinks is the subject here. So I'm going to start by clicking select subject and let's see what Photoshop does. Because I'm so accustomed to doing it by hand, Photoshop is getting better. Nope. See, in this case, it's such an abstract image that Photoshop decided that these little brown spiky areas of the cactus were supposed to be the subject. I was just curious to see what it did with something like this. And no, it didn't figure it out. There you go. It made me curious. Now, what we could do is we could
Is
add
that button that you press, the second one up there? What is it called? I can't read it.
select subject.
How
This-
did you get that?
Okay, so you first need to get a hold of one of the selection tools. And so I clicked on the object selection tool. That's what I did.
Yes, I have that.
And then you have to, then that tool appears up there because
I
it doesn't need to be that one. It can be another of the quick selection of the selection tools, but just needs to be a selection tool. And then this appears.
Thank you.
I just clicked on select subject. And now let's see the object selection tool. Again, these are based just on artificial intelligence. And so now with the object selection tool, what I can do is I can click and drag across and kind of, and by the way, I'm starting my click in the black, okay, right there. And I'm ending it in the black because if I try to get this exact edge, I'll miss some of the cactus. So I'm clicking over here in the black, I'm dragging and I'm taking it all the way to the black to make sure that it doesn't leave any of the edges out. And then I'm letting go. So this time I'm telling Photoshop that that's the object. Nope, it still didn't know what to do because there's no edges. Anyway, learning the limitations of that tool is interesting. It's still decided that the object are these little black areas of the cactus, which is fine because now we can add to that by switching to the quick selection tool. And the quick selection tool will easily allow us to select this green part and it adds to a selection. So that's kind of cool. I'm going to make sure that I have my selection tool big enough. So about yay big. So that's about 5. This is a high res photo. So it takes about 500 pixels to get a bigger tool. And now I'm going to add to that selection by clicking and dragging across this greenish stuff out. And so now if you can see, let me undo this again.
What's
So
the name of that tool again?
okay, so the select subject and the object selection both ended up selecting just the black areas of the cactus. See that?
Right.
So now I switched to the quick selection tool. And this quick selection tool is in add mode all the time. So all I need to do is add to that selection that's already there by touching on what I want to choose. So I want to choose this green area. So I'm going to just come in. I came in with a big tool, big brush. And I'm just going to click on this green area and keep clicking, or in this case, just drag down and see how it's adding itself to that. It's still leaving that brown area selected, but now I'm adding the rest of the green, and a couple of clicks or a little drag down. As long as my round circle does not touch any of the white, that's the key. If I don't touch any of the white, then that's going to select the cactus. Now, honestly, I would have originally thought that by hand, I would have started by selecting the white area first. But the object selection tool did such a good job of masking those little spiny areas with the cactus that I figured it's easier to first select the cactus area, because then I'm just adding to that selection. Many times when you choose what to select, it's based on what's the easiest thing to select. It's not about what you actually want, because I've selected the cactus. But I could have easily have selected the background and then inversed my selection. We did that once. I think we did an inverse
How do
selection.
you find the quick selection tool? What does it look like?
Okay, so you have to go back to the object selection tool, click and hold. And then
Oh,
have 3. So all the tools that have a little triangle there have more than one tool available. So
it's the object selection tool?
yeah, go down to the middle one, the one that's called quick selection tool.
I don't know which one what does
Okay.
it look like?
All right, so the top tool is the 4 arrows, the next
Right?
rectangle, then the lasso, then the 4th tool, click and hold, and you have 3: object selection, quick selection.
It's arranged differently. I have a patch tool underneath the spot.
Okay, so then you have this in the 4th, you have it like this, and 4 in the width. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, then it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the second down of the second.
Selection tool?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
then the corner,
Then click and hold.
click and hold there. Quick selection tool, okay. And that was in the,
Yeah,
okay.
okay. And then you can click on just the green. Just don't touch any white with the circle. Just touch only the green of the cactus, and that will get you the selection you need. Okay, so now we started with a selection this time. So what we can do now with this selection is we can do 2 types of layer masks are available right now to us. One is the one we did with the gorilla or with the cats, which is to change something of the selected area, but not to eliminate any of it, but to change. Okay, so that's the big difference. An adjustment layer changes or adjusts something, okay? We want the entire photo to stay as it is. We just want to adjust something. So that one, we go down to the bottom here and we choose this round circle that's half black, half white. And let's go for a hue saturation, which is the quickest one to demonstrate this with. And then we just change the color. Okay, so now we have a purple or a green cactus or a pink cactus. That's kind of an obvious change, and that's why I use this as the best sample for adjustment layers. But hue saturation is that quick change. All right, so now we have adjusted in one bizarre way or another this cactus, and this hue saturation layer is changing something to our pixels, and what it's changing is the color, and this here is what brings up the color properties, right? So the mask is masking the color properties. The mask is not masking our pixels to eliminate anything from our image. What it's doing, it's masking half of our image in this case. It's masking some pixels so that only the side that's white gets affected by my colors. The black area in my mask is not being affected by my color change. Does that make sense? So I have not eliminated any of the pixels. I have just changed the values of some of those pixels, and the mask is saying, yes, change the color of whatever pixels are white on my mask, area is white, and don't touch the color of whatever is black on my mask. So that is in the case of an adjustment layer, no matter what it might be, any adjustment layer of all these names, okay? So I might have wanted only some of it to go black and white, some of it to change exposure, some of it to have a different color, et cetera, et cetera. So that's that. That's an adjustment layer. All right. Now, the same thing can be done but to get rid of some pixels. So say that I wanted to have the edging of this cactus, but in the background, I did not want this, which happens to be a stucco wall, but whatever, this white stuff. If I don't want this, okay? So let's turn this little eyeball off so that I don't see that, okay? And let's go back to selecting the bottom layer, where now what we're going to do is a different thing. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hide, get rid of something. So we're going to get rid of some of these pixels by adding a layer mask. So a mask is going to appear on the same layer, hiding away some of these pixels. Does that make sense? And that is what we did in this case. Let me just bring it back to why I'm teaching you. This is a layer mask. These are pixels here, and we're hiding some of those pixels. So that's a layer mask. But let me show you what I mean over here. We have pixels and we want to hide some of them. Okay, so I'm going to first pick up the same selection from here since we already did it once. So how do we pick up a selection? Put your mouse, put your finger on the Alt or Option key, and then quickly click this mask one time. Oh, no, sorry, that was to see the mask. I apologize. Click on that again with the Option key. What I just told you to do is just to see the mask, and that was interesting, but not what I wanted to do. So click again to unsee the mask, and now move. It's either the Command or Control key if you're on a PC or on a Mac, and then click. And that picks up, see how the selection lines are up again? So that picks up our selection. All right, so go back to the background layer. Go back to the background layer, and
I
this
never got the black and white mask. I missed those steps somehow, going from screen to screen.
okay, let me finish this. I'll have you share your screen and I'll have you do that. So we picked up our selection from here with a single click, holding down Control or Command. And now over here, we're going to add a layer mask, which is the one that's
You can unmute all of us.
No, I muted Herman because I could tell it was coming from his. Okay, so guys, we're heading down here to the layer mask, which is the rectangular one. This is the adjustment layer masking. This is the layer masking. So single click one time only on this layer mask. Oh, it needs to be, I'm sorry, this is a background layer. We need to unlock it first. I forgot to have us do that. So come over here and click on this little lock icon one time, and there you go. Now it's unlocked, okay? And now we can add a layer mask to it. And notice thus that my background is gone, and then I just have the cactus left. You see that? This is now transparent. So the layer mask eliminates pixels in a non-destructive manner, okay? Meaning they are still there, they are just being hidden. And now if I want to bring in a different background in here, I can do that, so that we can put maybe a blue sky back here, okay? And the cactus would be hanging over the blue sky. So this adjusted some of the pixels. It made the cactus blue. That's that mask. That same mask over here has a different job. It's the same mask, but here it's to hide pixels. And what it hid was anything that was under black and allow us to see anything that's white. Does that make sense? It's two different uses of masking, and the layer mask hides pixels. It's when you cut something out. The adjustment layer mask adjusts just one portion of your image. In this case, it's adjusting the color of just the cactus. So let's go ahead on this one, like layer mask. And then on this one, you can write adjustment layer, right? So that you can remember the difference between one and another. Now, to complete this whole picture, we could bring in something to put in the background here so you could really see that. So let's do that. Let's go to Bridge. And let's bring in something, something that would have, let me see how big this file is. This is smaller, but it could, here, let's bring this one in, which I'm gonna have us do something else with this one, but for now, let's bring this one in because it has a similar size and it has some clouds. And double click to open it up. Oh, no, this is it's okay. It's a raw file, but that's fine. We can open it. Double click on this raw file. And so it's going to open first in the raw processing mode. Let's do a quick adjustment of it. Okay, so we get all the raw processing stuff here. Let's go ahead and actually give it a lot more color, give it more saturation, more vibrance, just to get those clouds to be a bit more intense. Make it a bit darker. This doesn't matter too much, just to make it a bit more. Why did that turn blue? Oh, it's the exposure.
I have a question. You have a much higher resolution screen.
Yeah.
The adjustments that you make versus the ones I make, I have a Retina screen, but not as probably that it's not the same resolution. So these adjustments that you make have a different, you go to a different number than I would.
Yeah.
In all likelihood, right? Yeah.
Yes and no. I'm sorry. I'm trying to, let me just quick back up on this. I don't really care for this example, what we do to this. So let's just go, let's just not worry about any changes in this image. Let's just go back to the original photo. Don't worry if you did some changes or not. I'm going to answer Bonnie's question right now. All I wanted was some sky behind the cactus. Okay, so let's just move past this and just say done over here at the bottom without any corrections as necessary. Just say done. It just got a bit more complicated because it's oh, open, not done. I'm sorry, my brain isn't. Let's go back to Bridge, not done. Done means you're done with it and we needed to open it. So let's open it again. I apologize. Open it again from Bridge. I usually try to bring a sky or two, and instead of saying done, say open. I was thinking of Bonnie's question. I'm not being very clear. Let's hit open at the bottom here. Good. So now this is opening in Photoshop. Okay. So what I wanted to do is just bring a background into that cactus. Okay. Or I can bring the cactus into this background, either way. But let's bring this background into the cactus since the cactus was our original image. So I'm going to put your mouse in the move selection tool, the V or move selection tool. Okay. And then we can just put our mouse here, drag it up to this, the retouching, the one called retouch, because that's the one that has the cactus, and then just drag it down again. If you want to hold shift, it'll, when you drag down, it'll drop the image centered and then let go of your mouse. And it's dropped up here in between these masks, so that's no good. So over here, we're going to drag it to the bottom. Okay. And then I'm going to
Diana, it's already 10:40. Whenever you can give us a break, that would be great.
Wow, usually I have an alarm that tells me it's break time. Did I ignore it or did I lose that? Okay, so let's finish this and I'll give you guys a break. So let me just show you again what I did. We went from this image and all I wanted was to bring this background in. So I grab from here, drag it to the name of the other image, and then I drop it back in here. But when I did that, because things don't drop in the bottom now, I need to alter the order of these layers and drag it to the bottom. And then I can move this one around as much as I want so that I can position a little sky behind this cactus. It has this little thing. So now that's what I mean about knowing for sure that you have completely eliminated whatever was there, because now you are not only changing the color of the cactus with the top adjustment layer, but you've also eliminated half of what the pixels were, gotten rid with a layer mask of those pixels, and now you can see through to a photo that's underneath. Does that make sense? Does that work for you guys? Did I leave you
It's
behind?
not working for me.
All right, so I know that Penelope still needs help with this mask though, so I want to help her too. So give me a second there, Fujie, and I'm gonna be helping, I want to help Penelope first, but for everyone
Yeah, fine,
who
fine.
got both, let me do a save as. Make sure to save this in your drive so that it, if anything happens or the VDI drops or anything like that, we don't lose all our work. So here, instead of calling it retouch, I'm gonna just say cactus, well, cactus retouch, whatever, cactus masking samples. Cactus masking samples. All right, so let me stop my share. Penelope, are you ready to share your screen?
Yes, I'll
Okay.
share,
Yep.
share. And where are you? Where am I? There.
Okay.
So I opened that,
Go
but
back.
this
Okay.
was,
All right, so let's just do this. Go over to the right side to the layers and get rid of that hue saturation layer. That way, get up at the top, the adjustment layer you made, click on that layer. Adjustment.
there's a bar down here. Maybe I can move the bar down somehow.
You probably have a zoom window in the way.
I don't know, maybe. Okay, now you wanted me to remove the hue layer?
Yeah, the one that has the mask. Yeah, click on that hue saturation. Yeah, click on that. Yeah, and then go and click on the little trash icon that's at the bottom of that.
Okay.
Yeah, just get rid of that. So we're gonna start. So delete. Oh, because you're only gonna delete the layer mask by doing that. Okay, say yes, delete. But okay, let me just show you what happens. Say cancel. You didn't select the layer, you selected the mask. Selecting a layer would be select the place where it says hue saturation.
Yeah.
There we go. Now you can delete. Now you can go.
Oh.
Otherwise, it was trying to delete only your mask. So now there we go. Delete the layer. Yeah. Okay. Now, to select this, go to your selection tool, the quick selection mask, the tool, the fourth down, the second on the column down, the one that, yeah, to the, no, second column, second tool. Yeah, on that one. Okay, now go up to the top where it says select subject, and that's the steps that we did. Click on that big top. Move up to the top control bar. Above, move up. Keep going up. Do what I'm saying. See that little house? Okay, go to the little house and now to the right, far to the right, to the thing that says select subject. Okay, there, that's my break time alarm. Okay, you see the word select subject? Move to the right. Keep going to the right. Right. There we go. Click select subject. And
Hello.
okay, yes.
Hello.
Say okay to that message.
Yes.
So what are we doing here?
Linda Davis from National Debt
Okay.
Relief.
We're trying to
Well,
get
the reason I'm calling,
okay. Who's got
due to
that?
the economic crisis, the
Good.
FDCA is actually eliminating.
Mute. I'm muted you, Fugia. Okay, so doing that select subject, is making the computer try to guess if there's something it can select. And we had started with that, but for some reason it's not selecting anything on yours. Click select subject again. This will discard. Do you want to continue? Say okay. Okay. There you go. So now you got selected all of your sharp. This is the hardest part to select, all those sharp tips. Okay.
Yeah, except for in there, but that's okay.
No, that's fine, because now we're going to add that to the selection. And to add that to the selection, now the tool that you've got right now is the quick selection tool. The problem is you have a teensy weensy one. So that's why you have these little crosshairs. So you need to add a ton to, so start tapping for a long time on that right opening bracket so that it becomes much bigger. Tap a bunch of times. There you go. Now go to the left now and click on the green part of the cactus. Yeah. And then drag it up a bit so that you drag it across. Yeah. And then drag it down. Don't touch the white. Hit Control or Command Z. And now again, touch only green. Don't touch any white or you're including white in your selection. Okay, good. Ready. Now you have your selection. Okay. Now go to the layers panel and now we're going to add the mask. No. Down layers. Yes. Down there. Yeah. And now click on the circle, then one to the left, that one, undo, Command and Control Z. Don't click around willy-nilly because then things happen. No, not that one. Nope. Well, that's one of the ones we want to add. It's okay, but we wanted to add, go ahead and do that. Click on that one. There you go. You've added your layer mask. So that's what we did second, but never mind. Now you did it. That's now the second one that we wanted is the circle. So go down again and now click on the circle. Yeah.
The hue select.
To hue saturation. And now change the color of, yeah, you clicked. So now you have to click again on go on the.
Let's see if I can move these.
Saturation. Go up. No, don't you move your mouse around. Stop. I'm telling you exactly where to
Can't find it.
that hue saturation layer on your layers. Yes. Okay, go to the layer. That's a hue saturation layer. Yeah, up. The second one is the hue saturation layer. There you go. Click on that. Click right where you are. Yes. And now move your sliders for your hue saturation around. There you go. So now you're in the same exact spot that we are, only we brought that little cactus down. So let me show you that. And then Fujiya, maybe this part I'm going to show her, and then maybe that helps what didn't work for you. So now go to the image 99 on top with the cloud that we brought in. Yep. Now change your screen, your mouse. This is what I saw was happening to you before. You left your quick selection tool on. So whenever you're done selecting, you go back to the V or move tool. Yeah. Good. Because otherwise, when you clicked on this, you were selecting it again.
Yeah.
Click here and drag your mouse, click and drag this image and click on the cloud. No. Just click somewhere in the middle of the cloud, like click on the cloud. Yeah. Now drag your mouse up to the word retouch.jpg there, up, straight up to that retouch JPEG file. Yeah, right there. And now drag your mouse down because you're bringing that layer in and maybe not so far down, somewhere in the middle. So it doesn't that, and then let go. Cool. So now if you look at your layers, you've brought in those clouds. See, look at your layers.
Yeah.
Only they're on top of the cactus. So now grab layer 1 and drag it down so that it's at the bottom. Yeah, let go.
Now, how do we move the clouds up to cover the background that it isn't covered?
Put your mouse on it and move it up. There you go. Now the only issue here is somehow you ended up not having the mask for your, okay. Your hue saturation didn't have the original mask, I'm noticing now. So let me show you how to do that. Go over to your layer 0, and you see where the cactus has the half black, half white mask.
Yes.
Yeah. Hold down your Option key or Alt key. And then click there and drag it up so that gets copied onto the top mask. So yeah, there you go. And let go. Replace. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
There you go. So now you added that mask up there. So now you're done. You're at the same place. And you
Okay,
can now change the color of your saturation or whatever, but you're all done. You're exactly where I am.
thank you.
All right. Fujia, did that help you at all? Oh, you're able to.
Yes, it did.
Yes. Thank you for your help. Okay, perfect. You wrote to me.
Yeah.
Remember not to write to me in direct message. Write to everyone so everyone knows when it's a class thing what's happening. All right. All right, there we go. Let's save this and go on our break. Anyone else have a question though before I send us to our break? Did it work for you guys? Ooh, Bruce, I'm getting hungry seeing you eat. All right, let's take 15 minutes. What time
Yeah.
is it? 10:51. So let's meet at 11:06. And there we go. See you guys at 11:06.
Thank you.
All right, it's time to be back. I'm gonna grab my glasses.
Okay.
Mhm. I switch glasses when I go on break. I get my reading glasses and now I have to put on my computer glasses, which have
And
screens
the
in
class,
them.
the class that you're going to be teaching, second summer session, is it going to be the same thing or more advanced or?
Thanks for asking. Here's the schedule. Let me put it in the it's in, that's the CRN Photoshop Summer 2. Let me give you the schedule and then I'll answer. It's Tuesday and Thursday,
Ah,
1:30 p.m. No, sorry, sorry, I wrote that wrong. 5:30 p.m. to 8:25 p.m. Okay,
oh,
so it's twice a week for 4 weeks. And it's, what's the date? June 29. So basically when we finish this one, the next week, this one starts to July 22nd. Okay, so the Photoshop that I'm teaching in the summer, technically it's the same information, but as many people who are in this class, who have taken this class many, many times, can assert, each time you do it, you learn something different. Now, not really, you're gonna still be doing masking, right? But I'll be doing it with different images, showing you different ways. There's people who have done masking many times here, and yet today I showed a different way of doing masking. So the fact that we use different examples and different materials to work with, and that I teach it from different angles and I speak to you at a different level depending on how much you know. Like Fujiya was asking a question that you wouldn't have known to ask because it's your first time around, versus Fujiya has done this quite a few times, et cetera, et cetera. So it's the same class, but
Too many
your
times.
ability level as you keep taking these classes expands, and thus what you can do expands. So Jacob has done this class many times as well, and he does this professionally. He sells his prints, and every time he learns something new to finish and redo his images. Peggy, I mean, there's quite a few of you here who have taken my classes a bunch of times, and maybe you want to speak to whether it feels like the same or not. If you want to say something other than that.
I would just say you can't do masking often enough. That you continue to remember and refine that. I'd be happy if you did masking 75% of the time. Then there's a few other things.
I notice when I'm taking notes, I get behind. So I think when I'm getting behind, I think I should stop taking notes, because I can take notes from the second time from recording.
Or yeah, you
Yeah.
can, this is the advantage of being in person, is the advantage of being in person. We're all in person, yeah. The advantage of being recording is that you don't need to take notes as much, because you can take the note, you can play me over and over again and then take notes there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really advantageous that way.
Mhm. Yeah, so anyway, I mean, Bonnie's been doing Photoshop for years and years and years, and yet here she is learning. And the same with Jacob, I know. Leland, God, how many times you've taken this class, Leland, but he's working professionally in this, and he started from zero. So every time you revisit a tool, even today I discovered that I tested that tool on the woman in the crosswalk and decided, you know what, it did a pretty good job, and it wouldn't have done that before. So the Photoshop grows and you grow with it, right? So there's always, all right.
I don't remember having an objective, whatever that, yeah, that's new, right?
That's
Yeah.
new from
Not too long ago, but I mean, not too recent, but
like 2 years ago maybe, but at first it wasn't so good. It's getting much better. Mhm.
mhm,
So all of these
excellent.
intelligent tools are getting much better. I'm gonna
Mhm.
share my screen again, and so there you go. Taking these classes repeatedly is like practice. I was always saying it's one thing, some things you learn once and then you know it, and other things you need to keep practicing. My husband does pottery, and he's been doing pottery for 30 years, and every time he discovers a better way to make the piece lighter or better, or you just keep doing stuff, and Photoshop is a bit that way too. All right. So now let's go. I'm gonna close. I don't want so many files open, so I'm gonna go here and close this one because we're not gonna work with it today. The cloud, save any changes. No, I don't know if there's any changes there. And this one we had saved, and this one, the main reason I did this is to explain the different types of masks, the two main types of masks, which are layer mask and adjustment layer. Is the two times that they appear. There's another place that they appear, there's in the filters. But basically, now that you understand the use of masks, no matter where you use it and how well you use it, it's basically to either apply adjustments in a specific area, which is the adjustment layer, or to delete stuff that you don't want to see, which is a layer mask. So these are the two types. If for any other time you're going to see masks in this entire Photoshop, it'll be either to specifically modify an area of something or to eliminate pixels. Those are the two reasons. And then myriads of ways to mix and match and use them. But that's the main conversation about masking. And so let's head back to the crosswalk, where now that you know the main layers, main types of masking, what would you consider this mask to be? Not from what I've said before, but now using what you know about masks, because I kind of told you what it was, but now do you see what kind of mask this is? Anyone can answer. Peggy is mouthing layer mask. Yes. I am a good mouth reader. And yes, because although it looks like it's an above layer, so it could physically kind of look like an adjustment layer that goes above, it is actually linked to the pixels, because these are the main pixels, but this is also pixels. You just put them in a different layer. They're covering over that one, but they're pixels. So this is a layer mask. And what we did is we had too many pixels here that we didn't want, so we masked a few of them out. So it's a layer mask. We got rid of some pixels that we didn't want on our pixel layer. Okay, so it's one adaptation of a layer mask. That said, these two need to be kept connected. And what I mean by that is, let me go to the move tool, the top layer move tool. If I were to put my mouse here and move this one around, it really is just a bunch of pixels that happen to be in the just right space to make us feel like we don't see them. But see how they really is just more pixels that move around. It could as well have been a cloud. It just happens to be that it is exactly the pixels we need to cover that. So I'm going to Control or Command Z to put that in its place again. Okay, so these shouldn't move. One way you can, move from with respect to each other. So one way you can do that is by linking them. And how you would do that, first of all, this background here is still in background mode from JPEG. So in order to begin to link stuff, you need to click on this lock to turn it into a layer. And now these two can be linked so that if you move one, the other one moves as well. Select one, hold down the Shift key and select the other. So now you have both selected. And now let's go up to this teensy weensy little line, set of little lines there that when you click, you can head down to link layers. And so now these two are linked. So now if you move one, the other one moves with it, and you don't leave your corrections kind of floating around like before. Okay. So now I'm just moving one and both move, no matter which one you choose to move, both move at the same time. Now I'm going to do Control Z to back them back into the right spot. But by linking them, you can't have them kind of do that thing we did before where the corrections move out of the way. You know what I mean? Now, ideally, you wouldn't be moving this bottom one just because this is a kind of layer that isn't supposed to be floating around. It's a flat, it's a mass, it's a full screen image. But in case by mistake you moved it, then now it's not going to be an issue because they're connected. All right. So now that was the spot healing tool, which now I have mine stacked like Penelope has them, so that in this case it was it's these two little band-aids over here. So just so you know, if you have them stacked the way I have right now, then you see them one next to each other. So, but if you have the straight lines, then it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's kind of how they work when they're not stacked. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's 7, 8 are the two that are the ones that we're using now. And in this case, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's kind of the order they follow when you straighten it out. Okay. So now, so whenever I'm showing the tools in one mode or another, everyone should be able to find their tools just kind of, they just stretch out longer or they stack up next to each other, but the tools are there. All right. So
Diana, is linking the same as merging the layers?
no, not at all. Merging would be to flatten this onto this and make it irretrievably destructed, so to say. Because, let me just show you and then I'll undo it. If you select these two and you merge them, that is equivalent to flattening the image. And now that's it. You're stuck. If now you wanted to recover those yellow spots or that round thing there, it's gone. It's an absolute goner. Or if I hadn't recovered this person crossing, it is now, this is the new pixels. This is utterly destructive. The original is gone. Okay, I'm going to Control and Command Z. So you rarely, if ever, want to merge things. Now and then there's a reason to merge a few things, but for the most part, you try to keep them in order to achieve the non-destructive modification, which is the goal of how I'm trying to teach you. It's so much easier to teach Photoshop with doing things destructive, because with one layer, you can just easily modify this, change that, you change it. It all looks wonderful. Guess what? You can't fix or readjust if you later decide you discovered a better way to do something. It's all flattened. It's all gone. So your question reminds me to tell you guys to never be tempted to flatten the layers of what I call the master file. If this is the file that you're working on and you end up with 10 layers on it or 25 layers on it, whatever. Keep that as your PSD layered file. And then if you want a flattened file for any reason, you export a JPEG to put on the net, to send to someone. That's another file. You export a little JPEG to send or a big JPEG to send or whatever, but you always have this one to come back to as your master file, and you keep kind of sloughing off of this one for all your little extra files. That those you can keep getting rid of, or because it doesn't matter. This is the one that you want to stay with, because next time around the tool might get even better and you can do a better way of hiding that manhole cover, or you find that you can now with other tools, you know, change things in a better way. Or later you might decide that you wanted this image and this is the one that you're looking for with the repeated double yellow lines and the repeated double blah, 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 and you can still do it because you didn't merge them, but once you merge them, it's too late. Okay. So this should always be kept. The PSD that you're working on should always be kept. So yeah, so that was a good question that allows me to remind you to not lose your original stuff. Okay, so now let's go to the second tool. So the spot healing tool we saw worked mainly. I showed you as a little spot. I didn't show you how as a line it works. Fujia mentioned it at one point and I kind of was like, yeah, but not always. But let me show you what I meant. If you have something that's a line that needs to be fixed, right? So say that I want this entire, or let me go to one of this top line here. If I would rather this top line not be there, let me go back, by the way. Don't make the mistake of doing this without having changed your layers. Because remember, if I'm doing this on this layer and I do this right now to drag across this line, what I have now affected is the real pixels. So I have just done a destructive modification, and you wouldn't know the difference if you weren't paying attention. Command and Control Z, select again the place, the floating layer where we're doing our modifications. And then that one, so this is crucial to make sure you selected your, then now let's go with the mouse that's just a little bit bigger than this crosswalk and drag across this line. So see, it's the same tool as that we just did a spot tool on, but now we're dragging. This time it didn't do as well. Maybe I need to do an extra line. It's a little bit harder because it has all these lines and it's trying to repeat the pattern, but it'll probably figure it out. There we go. Now it figured it out. Now I can see that line if I know it was there. Because of the pattern and how we know of crosswalks, we should expect to see one there. So then more critically, we look and we go, oh yeah, I can see it's not perfect, right? But if it weren't for that pattern, if we looked away and looked back again, we wouldn't even notice, because this asphalt does have gradations in its color. But knowing that something should be there makes it easier for us to look up and go, that's weird. Something is wrong there. And then once you notice that the color there changes a little where you started, and that here, maybe if it had really been in continuous, you probably should have some of that stuff there. I'm going to turn this off and see. This is a mishmash of whatever bits of gray it managed to find, and it continued a little bit of darkness there, and then it switched to a lighter version, then it went to a dark one again. So it's not perfect. Once put upon everything, it hides pretty well, but maybe having a fluffier brush might have helped merge it better at the end. What I meant by that is a brush that has less sharp lines, and sometimes that would work, sometimes it wouldn't. Let me show you what I mean. This, we gave it at the beginning, I told you, just let's give it about, I think I said a 50% hardness or 74% hardness, which is a pretty hardish brush. It has a bit of haze around it. So you might want to try it again with a softer brush and just see if maybe it works. So we're going to undo that last spot healing brush. And I went with the history. You can also do it with Control and Command Z. And just to test, to see, I'm going to go to my brush, to my healing brush. And this time I'm going to give it maybe a 50%. And it might be too fluffy, and it might be picking up a little bit from the edges now. I don't know, but let's try. So I undid that. I've made my brush softer, maybe a softer feathered, more fluffy, I call it. And now let me drag again, and let's see what it does this time and see if it hides a little bit better. Yeah, I like the endings of that a little bit better. And depending on who you are and what choice it made, it might work better or worse for you. What I don't like is that there seems to be two identical streaks in there. And that's what I find happens. Let me zoom in a bit. That's what I find happens when you do a lot of dragging, is that, see how there's an identical streak that goes there and there and there? It's like it repeated the same thing 3 times. You have to be aware of those patterns. And then in the edges where there is an edge, there's that fluffiness there that I don't like too much. I just like it better at the ends, but I don't like it so much in this area. It kind of got one patch from here, and I can see where. See that little yellow spot? I can see it right there. So this is the area the computer decided to pick up.
Sorry.
So this is the area that it picked up from to copy there, and I can see that yellow spot repeated twice. So that's when it begins to look a bit weird. I can see that spot repeated twice, which is this spot right there. See, it took this chunk. Like I can see this there is what the computer chose to put in here, because you see how I see that yellow spot and that brown spot right there. And I see it again, yellow and brown. You see that, what I mean? Can you tell? And this is just mine. I can recognize it, but you might recognize areas that it picked up from yours. And that's the kind of thing that's going to be the giveaway when there's repeated things. So I can say I can see it did 2 strips of something. So maybe the first one where I saw an edge on the side was a better choice than this one, because this one I don't like. That said, this is easy to fix. On the pixels themselves, I can now grab a small tool and then just modify. So now I'm modifying the correction, right? And just modify itself so that it doesn't show one of those repetitions. So that already is not, you know, a problem. So if you see some like this line here gets repeated there and there, I go ahead and drag across that line, and that eliminates that. And then I'll drag across this one. So you can go in and readjust the modification to make it be a little bit less patterny, so to say. And depending on how much fluff or softness you use, it kind of blurs the edges. So I'd rather try to have a bit less hardness, having a bit harder, so that the edges aren't so fuzzy, when there's not supposed to be any fuzziness on pavement. On other stuff, like, you know, blurred backgrounds, you can get fuzzy, but on this, there's no fuzziness. So it's better to be able to now kind of retouch a little bit some of those things that looked a little bit repetitive, and then go over this area where you can see it shows different places and see if you can make that a little bit better. That said, you have to always see it at 100%, which is Command 1. And when I look at it from afar, I even say repetitive lines there. So actually the second swipe that I made, I like less than the first swipe. That said, I lost the first swipe because I already wrote over it. So anyway, you basically have to choose what you like best. And since I really don't like all of these, I can again go back a bunch of times to delete that in my history, or I could just go ahead and in this file, just get rid of that modification. But the easiest thing, and I'm trying to teach you to use the history, is like, yeah, after all that work, wasn't that much work, but I look at it and look at it and I'm not happy with it. So up to 50 times, I can still, after 50 actions, I can still delete them. If I get to the place where I do more than 50, then that's it. There's no more history. So it's not like I can delete history all the way back to the beginning. I can only delete 50 histories, and look how quickly spot healing adds up. Click a little bit here, a little bit there. Next thing you know, you're already at 20, right? So I'm gonna work all my way back to undoing these until it gets back to the original. There we go. So
How
now
are you undoing those?
by going to the history,
Right,
and
And
then moving upwards, this is the oldest, this is the newest thing I did. Top is oldest, bottom is newest. So as I move upwards and click and move upwards the ladder, at some point I'll get to the place where I had my
click.
swipe again, and it'll be the first time I put that hot spot healing brush, and I go back, and that's where that's back again. So I have undone that step. Now be very careful, because this, I can still for now go, well, no, I prefer it there. No, I prefer it gone. I still can go back and forth, but the moment I make my choice, so notice what it says, layer visibility cell save, okay? All of these steps are still there for me to go up and down from. The moment I say that's what I want, the moment I actually do something else right now, this history will disappear. So pay it, just put your eyes on this. Don't do anything. Put your eyes on my sample where you see all these steps that I'm eliminating, okay? And now watch, I'm gonna actually go and do something else. I'm gonna actually go and create a marquee for no reason whatsoever than to show you what's gonna happen next. Okay, I'm about to let go of my marquee. Boom. Look at what happened to my history. All those steps disappeared, completely disappeared. And now this is my last step. The rectangular marquee and layer visibility is the thing that I had gone to in my history, but all those steps that I just undid by doing something new, I've cleaved a new path in my history. I cannot ever again go back. If I had really liked that change that I made, sorry, I lost it, because now I did something new And now this is my newest thing. Does that make sense? So that history is tenuous. It's there until you choose to go back on it. And then if you do something new, it disappears. So be aware that history doesn't stay there forever. It's just the latest few things you've made. Once you go back on it, you lose. So if I now decide to go back all the way back to there, I'm back way behind, having done a couple of things that I did like. And if I now do something else, I messed up. So don't be up and down this unless you're sure to not do something until you're exactly right where you want it. And then you keep going, and then you create your new path. Okay, so everyone go back in your history until you show this crosswalk again. And now know that next thing you do will alter again the path of this history, and you won't be able to recover that deletion of that crosswalk. But that's the point of what I'm showing you. That's why I didn't care if the crosswalk was really well deleted or not. Joyce, you raised your hand?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm having an issue where I can't drag the brush tool. I don't know if that's lag or if that's something that I did that caused that, if you know.
This tool, the spot healing tools do take a lot of computer power. I have been in situations where my computer has many programs open and I'm taxing the system, and then I try to use this brush and it just won't. It just sits there and it processes and it processes and you drag it. So that is very
it just does the brush spot that I initially clicked, but when I drag it, nothing happens and only the first kind of bit changes a little bit. Previously, before the break, I was able to drag, but I just didn't know if that, like, I did something or if it was just maybe lag.
on is spacing. Make sure you didn't change your spacing here, because you might have, if this is a good spacing, and I don't want to demo spacing right now, but if this changed a lot, that might mean that you've got a spot here, a spot there, instead of a continuous line. So
that might be it, because my spacing is changed. Okay, let me try it.
To that and see if that might be a reason. Bonnie, you raised your hand.
Yeah, when I was doing the crosswalk line, I was looking at the After Effects and seeing maybe some striations where I would not smoothly draw the brush across it. So then I tried the old constrain when you're using a brush to constrain something to a horizontal, vertical, or 45-degree angle. And I found that worked, and at least it's a little bit hard to draw a straight line freehand. And so I clicked in the first spot, and then I held the shift key down and moved my cursor over to the end of the line and clicked, and the whole line appeared or erased it. So I found that easier than drawing the mouse across the line and being unsteady.
Yeah, so let me show you what she's talking about. It might work. I didn't see this as a straight line, so I didn't think of that, but it's true. It
was kind of straight. You have to make the brush a tiny bit bigger.
Let me show you guys what she's saying, because this is an important tool. You guys are all really quick at, you're catching things really quickly. So I'm gonna throw an extra thing here to demonstrate what she's saying, because it's a good thing to know. Create a new layer though, because I want you to try it on a new layer, because it isn't specifically to the demo I'm doing, but it is a good thing to know. So let me show you. Create a new layer. So to do that, we went down here to this plus sign and created a new layer, and then call this one constrain straight line, just so that you later know what we did in this one. And then just to show you what I'm talking about, we won't use this tool. Just to show you, we'll draw a line. Okay, so head over to the where do we have the draw line here? We've changed the positioning of these.
I just use a brush.
I know, but I want to be able to show it. Here under the brush, there's a pencil. So click on the brush that we had before, but go to the pencil, because then you'll really get the message. You'll really understand with the pencil. Okay, so click and hold on the brush that you get by hitting the B key, because there's so many brush looking things, that brush that we use on the mask. Hold it down with your mouse and then pick up the pencil for a second, which is the second tool under the brush. Okay, now notice that when we were on brush, that we had all this nice fluffiness or whatever that we had chosen before. The moment I shift to pencil, it went sharp up here, right? Because the pencil can only be 100% sharp, you know, that's why it's a pencil. Okay, so I right now have black on my tool. I'm going to switch to white. I think white will show better on pavement. So look what happens. If I try to draw a straight line with a pencil, it's not very straight, right? If I try to draw a straight line, it's straight-ish, but not totally straight. So try do that go into this gray area and try to draw as best as you can a straight line. And no matter how best I try, it's not really straight. So how to get something to be exactly straight? You constrain it. So you click, so I'm gonna do it on this side now. I click first, I hold down my shift, and then I click anywhere else, and a perfectly straight line happens in between them. I'm gonna do that, right? So you click, hold shift and click, or click, hold shift and click, and that gives you a straight as line as whatever it is that you tried to do, okay? So does that work for you guys?
Good.
So it doesn't mean straight as in perpendicular or horizontal, just straight,
No.
whatever direction, right? So it's clear and easy to see in this pencil. Now, in the brush, no matter what brush or pencil tool you use, that works as well. So now just going to a regular brush, if I click from here to here, it's a bit softer, but it's that same idea. So this is a brush. This tool is a brush. So what Bonnie is saying is that she used this tool, and I'm gonna go into the size. I'm gonna make this be up here. And what she did is she clicked at the beginning, held down her shift key, clicked at the end. Well, mine didn't really cover it because I tried, so let me make,
Needs to be just a little bigger.
so click there, shift and click a little bit higher. And so see how you get a straighter line. In this case, it didn't seem to help me because it didn't do the fix. So didn't do the fix at all.
Wait.
But anyway, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and I think this time it'll do it. It's thinking, and there it did it. It left a little line. But anyway, so she's saying she got a better solution from that. So right now, I don't want that to be deleted. So undo that. But I'm just showing you what she meant by saying click, shift, click, which is a good idea to try sometimes. And I just wanted you guys to learn the skill. And that's why we had it on a different layer. But I didn't necessarily want you to apply it to this because I'd rather have that crosswalk. Okay. But now you can turn that eyeball off and leave it there as a learning of your click, shift, click to constrain straight lines. And there you go. So now you've learned something new, thanks to Bonnie's comment. All right. But turn it off because I don't necessarily need all those white lines there, nor do I necessarily need for you to fix that with the crosswalk. I'd rather the crosswalk be back because I was really trying to teach you the history thing there. All right, let's give it a save since we've done many changes. In fact, this is a good thing to learn, but we don't want it to be mixing up with anything. So why don't you just drag it out underneath that background? Since this background is a full layer covering everything, you won't see it anymore. But at some point when you're interested in seeing it, you can always just turn these off and then you'll see it again to learn or bring it up again, okay? I want it out of the way a little bit so it's not confusing because I'm going to keep building layers up on top of this. All right, so I'm going to, this thing that's called now layer 0 because we unhooked it, I'm going to call this one original, so we know that this is the thing to try to not mess with, okay? Because at some point we might make a duplicate. I want to make sure not to mess with this. All right, how are we doing? Oh, where's my, look at my, trying to make sure that my time isn't running away with me. I think we're fine. Yeah. Okay. So save the file. And now I want to show you a couple of other tools. So the other tool I want to show you right now is the one next to it, the one that looks just like the Band-Aid, only it's missing a teensy little line around it. So the icon is very similar and the name is very similar. This one's called the Spot Healing Tool. This one's called the Healing Brush Tool. And although the icons are similar and the name is similar, it actually operates completely at a different level, and it is very different to use. So this is one of those things where I have no idea why they chose to make it look as if it's the same thing when in reality it is not. The only thing in that it is similar is that it replaces something you don't want. Okay, so as much as a spot healing tool, you chose something you don't want and you replaced it. This one here, the first one chose from wherever because of artificial intelligence. The computer decided to go over there and choose this piece to replace over there and this piece to replace over there, right? So that was, you didn't direct it where to copy from. So you had to do it a few times and hope that it got it right. And it's getting so intelligent that it did a very good job. But the computer chose where to copy from. Now, in this case, it doesn't matter too much where things get copied from because come on, it's just asphalt, right? The only thing you would prefer it not to copy from sidewalk when you want to replace ice walk. But other than that, it's a relatively simple choice the computer had to make. In other circumstances, you might have a much more nuanced choice. For example, if you've got a face and you're trying to replace some skin from the forehead, if the automatic tool decides instead to pick up something from the tip of the nose to put it in the forehead, or to put it something from the tip of the nose into the cheek, you know how you have, it might be the same-ish color, but you know that you have very different pores on the tip of your nose than you have on the middle of your cheek or on your forehead. So you might want to choose where that skin gets copied from, right? So if you're going to fix something on the forehead, you want to make sure it still samples forehead skin. And if you're going to fix something in the nose, you want to sure it samples skin nose. You know what I'm trying to say? Because the textures change. So when you have a circumstance like that and what is being copied into isn't necessarily ideal, or when you want to have control of what gets copied into, then you have this second tool, which is the healing tool brush. And this one, you get to choose where things get copied from. So now let's go ahead and let's decide that what we want to do is that we want to copy, say that we want to replace using this. Will that be easy enough? We'll use this little crosswalk here that's clear and blank. It has nothing around it and has a bit of gray emptiness there. We're going to use that to replace this one because we want to get rid of this woman or guy. I think it's a woman. And we're going to sample this over here. Now I'm looking at the gray there and gray here is pretty different. See how I'm looking at the crosswalk there, crosswalk over here. We'll see how well it works. The texture will be a bit different, but that's okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to sample some of what we want to be brought in here. Does that make sense? So we want some of that to replace this. And the reason I'm choosing the crosswalks to start with is because it's a very straight line that we can imitate, and hopefully the perspective is going to be different. It's not going to work. See how the straight line is pretty straight and this one is going down. So as a first example, it's going to work too well. Let's use this one here. Let's use this here. It's going to be a little bit harder, but it'll work. Let's use this to replace her. Okay, so let me show you. I'm going to put my mouse and let's make it about, I don't know, yay big, which if I look up here, that's about 45. Oh, and we had left it a little bit fuzzy. Let's go back to about, I don't remember how much. Let's go back to about 73%, 74%. I want a bit less fuzzy. 75-ish%. Okay. And then here, the mouse is about 45 pixels. That's good. All right. So first watch. This is a watch first. I know that I want this clear area to replace her. So I'm going to have to copy some of this gray and some of this white to go over where she is, including the area that's her shadow, right? So I need space to the right. This whole thing will go over there. So I'm going to start over here and I'm going to sample this little patch. So again, just watch how it happens. So you really absorb the system and then you can do it. So how do I sample this? I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key and click. And see how I got like a little crosshairs kind of shape on my mouse? So I did a sample, I click, just hold down Option Alt and then a single click with your mouse. Okay, now let go of the Alt and Option key and now watch what's happened. Look what I'm carrying around. I'm carrying a little sample. Well, the gray you can't see, but it's there. It's just that it's white and gray, so it's kind of hard to see, but I'm carrying a little patch of white and gray with me. See that? A little patch of that is coming with me. You see that? Pretty cool. All right. So now I'm going to take that from here and I'm going to put it about here where I want to begin replacing her, and I'm going to match it, not anywhere, but I'm going to match it to where I think it looks natural in this line. And now I'm going to click down and start drawing, and look, not what I'm drawing down here. Look above where you see the original matching spot. You see how I have a little cross? Those pixels under where that cross is happening are being now used to erase that which is happening down here. And I went a little bit too far. I ended up getting a little bit of that line there. So I kind of see how that line is messing up because I went, see how up there my cross is touching the other line. So I'm getting some line here that's messing it up. Anyway, I'm going to back off on that and fix that later. But so now I'm going to the left. And why am I bringing this in? What's happening to that cross line on the top? I've reached the end of my crosswalk. See? So here I'm drawing the end of that crosswalk. Do you see how it's happening? So now I'm actually eliminating this because it's going over and copying that area. So I'm basically recreating that line over here. And now what's that? What's happening there? Do you recognize this person that I'm just creating? I haven't yet eliminated her. I've not let go of my mouse. So she is still there. So now my line is in the area of where she used to be. So I ended up bringing her back in, which is not ideal. I'm going to Command Z and show you how you need to be constrained and choose only the areas you want. So if this is the area that I wanted, I have to be very careful. Put this where I think it matches, and then I'll just go over just her body. And I'll try to make sure that the top of my mouse doesn't touch the top of that crosswalk this time. And then I'm going to go over here and drag until I see that she disappears. And see that line in the top crosswalk is being brought in again. That's kind of not good. And when I think I've done a good enough job, I let go of my mouse. Now, there's things to fix here, yes, but I've been able to kind of recreate that down here. And if I want to fix this kind of blurry area, because edges are always a bit of a problem, and I want to get rid of that line that I brought in from there, now I can maybe copy itself onto itself. So I'm going to go over here, and right now I'm still seeing the original match. I'm going to go over here, hold on my Option key again, and now match this edge from there. I took a sample of this edge now, and now I'm going to put it here, and then I'm going to drag across to try and bring some of that edging to be over here. And there the edge got a little bit off, so I'm going to click over here and try to match my edge as best as possible. And there you go. Now I have a pretty much perfect crosswalk. I've left some of her shadow there, so I would have to copy a bit of non-shadow. I'm going to copy some non-shadowy. So now I've got just gray. I put it over here and I go Alt click. So I'm just sampling some gray, see? And then I'm going to go over here and drag over so that I can get a little bit of that gray to equal it. Well, I'll tell you what's happening with the color. There's another tool for the color. Right now, it's trying to match the color that it had originally. And so it's staying a little bit dark, but I can draw over. Now I matched from here, which is a bit better. Okay, so now if I didn't know there was someone there, if I looked around, I don't see her anymore. I still see a little bit of darkness where there used to be a shadow, and that I can adjust later with an adjustment just on that spot to lighten if someone were to notice. If you didn't know there was a person there though, it just might look like a darker patch of asphalt, right? So I'm going to undo all those steps now. I'm going to go back to my history, and I'm going to head all the way up to when I did my first brush tool. Here we go. And start all over again. Now, one thing I forgot to have us do, I didn't want to do this on the same layer, the same spot healing brush. I was trying to, so if you did already start on it, go ahead and undo like I just did. And let's create a new layer. So you have a different layer set up for the corrections of the spot healing brush. So I'm going to create a new blank layer and I'm going to double click and call this one healing brush tool. The top one was the spot healing tool. This is the healing brush tool. And then make sure up here that normally it starts with just current layer. And just as before, for it to work from here to here, you need to click on that and choose current and below. Okay. And actually, since you have a correction here, it's interesting because if I choose this to sample as current and below, oh, look what's going to happen. That's interesting. It's only sampling from below. And remember that below, we still have the manhole, right? So if I were to sample from here and move out here, I'd be making a manhole because over here, it's still seeing a manhole. So if I wanted to consider my corrected non-manhole, I would have to put the mask up there. But if I want to have it there, then I would have to say current. I would have to say all layers instead of just current and below. Just beware with that. Beware of that. Because if I want it to assume there's no manhole there, then I need it to tell it all layers. So it looks up there and it knows that there's no manhole. Or easier, what I would do is I would put it on top. That way it knows that this is not to be, this is not to be used in which current and below is a bit safer. Sometimes you have so many layers that all layers becomes a bit too much to ask for. Oh, true. I had gone back in my history and I forgot that I had asked you guys to put this down there. Okay. So, so with that kind of putting it on top of the spot healing tool brush, then if I now select from here and try to move over here, it's just choosing pavement instead of the manhole. Okay. All right. So everyone, let's give this a try. Let's go ahead and get rid of this gray dressed person versus black, pink, or red. Let's get rid of her. And we can, and the easiest thing is using that line, because if you match some general area over here, by the time you get to her, the white line of the crosswalk will be kind of off, right? Unless you're exact. So that's why it's easiest to start on something that's recognizable. So if I match this little bit of her right there, and I start painting right there, then I can make sure, I didn't get it exactly right. It's easier to go up closer, by the way, for these things, so you can see better.
Okay.
Right? So now I'm going to do it. I'm going to actually sample from her own crosswalk. I'm going to sample this edge, and then I'm going to bring her over here, and I'm going to start from here, and I'm going to start dragging over here. Oh, I went too far. See how I'm bringing in the edge? Undo. I need to start from a little bit closer. Option, click, and then bring it over here and start dragging up and down. Start painting some stuff around her and making sure that I don't touch the other crosswalk. And there we go. And then I'm going to continue a little bit down to get rid of some of this stuff. And let go. And there you go. Now there's a little blimp here because the direction of this crosswalk is not the same. So I'm just making it a little bit smaller and just capture a little bit of this one here to even off that crosswalk. Okay. How's it going, guys?
Not well.
Not well?
No. How did you get the numbers across the top of your screen there?
Numbers, I think last week we put in some rulers, which is Command R or view rulers, and I had turned them on for something or another. I don't remember. Maybe I turned them on for another one of my classes, and so it's Command R, Command or Control R that gets you the rulers, but they're not necessary in this.
Okay.
tournament.
So how do you I'm in the healing tool and I hit Alt and I get a funny,
So when you do the Alt or Option, hold it down. I'm gonna go and sample. It's easier sometimes to sample a thing than to sample a line. So I'm gonna go and sample this person, that's got, I guess it's a golf ball or a backpack. I'm gonna sample his hat. So I'm gonna hold down my mouse. I'm sorry, my finger, the Alt and Option, and then I'm gonna single click with my mouse on the middle of the top of his head. Okay. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring him over here and I'm gonna start painting this person over here. Of course, I'm bringing in crosswalk and everything, but I'm just trying to show you an example. Because I sampled the middle of the top of his head, okay? And now I'm dragging in this area without letting go of my mouse, and on top of his body, you can see that little cursor going up and down, and it's replicating my movements, but on this side. Okay, so yeah, on this one, let's go a bit crazy. We're gonna just copy different things just to try it out.
I think I'm uncoordinated. I don't think I'm pressing the buttons in the right order.
That's fine. So I'm gonna show you one more time. Hover your mouse over something you wanna copy. So now I'm gonna copy this stuff. So I'm gonna hold down my Option and Alt key. So right now I haven't clicked my mouse on anything. I'm just gonna want to replicate this little line over here, right? So I hold down my Option Alt key and I'm gonna start from the end. So I'm gonna decide to pick up this little corner. So what I do to pick it up is I now single click my mouse. It's something you need to hear my voice say because I can't show it to you. My mouse doesn't show any clicking. I just know that right now I just did a single click with my mouse. There's not much coordinating. Your finger is still holding down the Alt and Option key, right?
Okay,
Okay, now with your mouse, do a single click.
yes.
Okay, now let go of your hand from the keyboard. And now when you move your mouse, you'll be carrying a little bit of that, okay?
Nope.
I'm gonna move it over here and I'm gonna click and drag and I'm gonna start copying up and down. I'm copying that sidewalk that I had sampled on the left side and I'm bringing it in.
Nope.
Okay, so now I'm gonna have you guys, I'm gonna stop my share and I'm gonna have you share with me. Meanwhile, everyone keep trying because you might also have questions about this. Penelope, share your screen so I can see if I can watch what you're doing. It could be that you're on the wrong layer. I need to see because when I see, I can kind of figure out what's
Yeah.
up.
So let's see. So,
Hold on. I need to make yours bigger. 1 second.
What?
Okay. All right. So take your mouse and it's easiest. Try with the guy, with one of the people. It's much more obvious example. So put your mouse on the top of a very recognizable place, that hat. Yeah. Okay. Now hold down your Alt or Option key. Good. Now single click your mouse. Okay. Now let go of your Alt or Option key and now hover, move this around. No, not working. Let me see what's happening. Oh, let me look at your layers. Okay. See at the top, it only says current layer. So nothing's happening and you have a ton of layers.
current layer.
Yeah, let's get rid of those layers that are in between. Hold on, let's go to your layers first. See where in your layers it says background layer 1, layer 2, and healing tool brush.
Yes.
I'm going to see what each one of those is. So go and turn all of their eyeballs off and see what you have there. And actually the other two, I want to turn them all off. Turn off, 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 turn everything off. Yeah. Off and off. Okay. And let's see what's happening on the first one. Turn the eyeball on of layer 1. No, layer 1. Nothing's there. So get rid of that layer. Select and then little trash icon.
Oh, trash icon. Okay.
And then say delete layer 1, yes. Okay, now let's see what's on layer 2. Turn the eyeball on.
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, so get rid of that one too. You can also right click and say delete. I was just showing you different ways.
Right click.
Not on the icon, on the layer. Oh, undo. And yeah, so click on the layer that says layer 2, never on the boxes that have pixels or masks, but on the grayish part. Yeah.
On the word or on the gray area?
Gray part, that's as neutral as it gets. Okay, now right click. Now you can delete that layer at the very top. It's just showing you different ways of deleting it. Now down, 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 under copy there, delete layer. That's another way to do the same thing. Okay, good. Now, you have this inside of a group. I don't know how you got it inside of a group, so you need that, get rid of that. Yeah, just
So,
that group again. There we go. Now select that group and delete the group. Right click or trash can. And group, say group and contents, because it was only an empty layer. Okay, finally. Okay. Now, I don't know where you have the rest of the changes that we did to this,
I
but
didn't get them made. I got so far behind between the screens and trying to see what you were doing. So I didn't do those.
okay. Oh, because I helped you with the cactus. Okay, not with this. Okay, good. That's fine. So here we're gonna use the healing tool brush. All right. So go to the top, and your issue is just that you were not using the current layer. So you were using the current layer, so there's nothing to copy. So now click on that current layer and choose current and below.
Ah,
Right. So now go back to the guy's hat. Hold down your your alt or
yeah.
key, and now click your mouse. No, you didn't click your mouse. No. Click your mouse, single click.
Now what I do?
No. Stop. You're-
Undo.
Undo what you just created another new group. I don't know how you created the new group, but undo. Control Z. You created a group there. So Control and Z. I don't know what shortcut you're doing. Controller.
Don't know either.
All right, relax. Hold down the controller command. What are you? So I don't have to say controller command. You're down control and tap the Z. One time. The Z.
Yeah.
Are you holding down the control key when you're tapping Z? You're doing something
Yes.
else. No, because you're really there's
Control key.
Huh?
Control key.
hold on.
Option.
No, hold on, please, Fujiya. Hold on the control, and now the Z for zebra.
Right.
Z one time.
Did.
Okay, what's happening is that you bypassed everything we did. You recovered by keeping and doing the Z's, and you recovered that which I had asked you to delete. Now you need to back up. So go to your history. It's a bit easier. Go to your history. Okay. Now bring back. Go down. It's the opposite. We want you to bring back. Yeah. Down, down, down. Okay. And now click where it says delete group. There we go. We wanted to go forward in history. Wanted to go back to this place. All right. Good. Now put your mouse there. Hold down the Option or Alt key. And hold down the Option or Alt key. I need to see. There we go. And now single click your mouse.
Single click. I think I single click. once
Now
and-
go of your Option or Alt key. No, you didn't single click. And I can tell because you should, there we go. Now we have hat. Now you did. Now you have hat beneath you. Okay. Now put your mouse down and start drawing, and you'll see how you're drawing across the same area that on the left side you see the plus sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now, if you let go of your mouse and then let go of your mouse, this is for everyone, learn from this. Now start drawing again, and notice that she didn't go to the exact spot where that hat was. She just, if you pick up your mouse from doing this, and then you just start drawing again, now click your mouse and start drawing again. Now you bring back, it's like the mouse, the drawing starts again from the same place you sampled. So see how she started painting a whole nother guy? Now pick up your mouse. Now go over to the left side of our drawing, like to under the manholes. She still brings the hat. The initial sampling place is still where this is going to keep starting from. So now click again, and you can draw another little hatted person there. So when you want to sample something different, you need to create a new sample because that sample will always start painting from that place. And if you lift up your hand now and try to say, oh, I forgot to bring in the back of his leg. So you go with your mouse to bring in the back of his leg, it won't work. You're putting another hat in the back of his leg. See what I mean?
Yep.
So you need to be careful. Once you sample, that's where it always starts. And you need to go back and resample. So try to draw a whole area that you want. And then you can always go and fix it, remember, with our deleting or masking versus trying to start again. Okay, now you can just kind of do Command Z a few times to get rid of all your many hatted guys. Not too many. You went one too many and you brought the group back. Careful. So now the redo, which is fine. The redo instead of Command Z, which is the undo. If you just need to do one redo, if you
I
want
think it's a redo.
Shift Control Z, so that you redo that last
What
undo
was it? Shift Control Z?
Control and then Z, and then you'll undo that little group there. There you go. So now I'll let you do your own thing without directing you. Go ahead and try to
Not sure.
sample. Now I wanted to do it while you did it, but never mind. So the main thing was that you were on the same current layers. That's why you were doing it and nothing was happening. Okay.
Okay.
So now that you have all layers, the movement is hover over the area you want to sample, hold down Option Alt, and then click your mouse. And that's it. And then you let go and then you start painting that wherever you go. Anyone else have questions? Hopefully you've been putting a lot of little people all over the place, or crosswalks all over the place, or manholes all over the place. Do we have like a multi-manhole street now?
So how do you change the sample?
Okay, so this is how you change the sample. You're done with your hat. You want to say sample the manhole now. So you put your mouse over the manhole. Let me put your mouse over the manhole. It'll bring the hat around because the hat was the last thing you sampled, right? So if the last thing you have is a hat, and I'm going to imitate yours. So when you put your mouse over the manhole, you've got a hat, right? I'm imitating what you had. You had a hat. So I hover over this manhole with my hat, but I don't want to paint my man here. So I hold down the Option Alt key and I get my sample bullseye, so to say. Again, single click your mouse, and now I'm carrying a little bit of manhole all over the place. And now I'm going to start drawing manholes everywhere because that sounds like more fun than putting little people all over the place. And now I'm going to put another manhole over here. Okay. So were you able to do that? Just hover over. Now I have a manhole in my mouse and I carry it everywhere. Now I want to sample this woman. I put the manhole bit over her head, hold down the Option Alt, single click my mouse. And now I can begin to draw little pink women all over the place. And I know I'm reducing it to little pink women. I'm sorry, but you know what I'm trying to say. Pink dressed human figurines, because I don't really know if it's a woman or a man or a whatever. How's it working? Are people putting little things everywhere? Yeah. All right. It's one of those practice things, Penelope. The important thing is to get the practice down of what you want to cover. And then once you know the system and once you know what you want. So here I only brought the manhole cover, but I didn't bring all the extra stuff. Now I'm carrying a little bit of head. Feels like a cannibal or something. Click on the, now when you want something very specific, you can be very specific now. So now, this is a very colorless kind of image, so to say, black, white, gray, and a few spots of color. But I want to show you what happens when we do this with color, because it is vastly different. So let's go back to our cactus. Go ahead and save. If you've made lots of little thingies here, go ahead and save. Now in our cactus, we have different colors, right? Let's just take the color off. To turn off the adjustment layer, let's go back to the green colored cactus. Okay. So in your green colored cactus, make sure not to be selecting the mask. Select the pixels. Okay. for a second of this cactus. I'm going to make my mouse bigger because proportional. See, oh, by the way, notice that I'm bringing from the last sample, I'm bringing a bit of woman over here, right? Because my last sample was the pink woman. Look at when I make my mouse smaller, it's just the top of her head. But when I make it bigger, it just keeps bringing in whatever it is that I was bringing. That's kind of cute. All right. So if you guys had hat or manhole cover under your mouse, notice that you're bringing a bit of that in here. Now watch. I'm going to put a new layer above the cactus, okay? Because we want this to be non-destructive. We don't want to paint on top of the cactus. So let's go down and click new layer. And in this one, I'm going to head over here, and maybe you guys have manhole cover. Maybe you guys have pink lady. Just watch me. I made it bigger so we can see, watch what I'm about to do. I'm going to click and drag, and I have brought pink lady over, but what happened to the colors? It's pink lady, all right, but the colors adapted to the place I'm putting it in. That's the content aware part of this tool, because there's another tool that's done this from the first beginnings of Photoshop, where I would have just stamped the pink lady with the gray background onto the cactus, and that's the stamp tool. But this tool is content aware, and so looking around and going, ooh, I'm gonna put some of this image in here, but it's got to adapt to the surroundings, and the surroundings are green. So it did its best. You still see some pink, but it did its best to adapt itself to the green. Let me put this pink woman with her crosswalk into this sky here and see how it kind of, it's harder to tell because it's gray, but it turned bluish. Let me put her on this pink cloud and see how the asphalt is a little bit pinkish now. You see how it adapts? It's trying to match the color of the destination. So look at how dark this woman arrived on top of those trees. Pretty cool, huh? We couldn't see the effect of this part of this tool and the other one because everything was gray and white. So it was harder to tell, but now that you have colors here, you can see that when you do that, you actually, the destination tries to match. So basically what it's bringing is the texture, and I'm gonna prove to you what I mean about the texture. It brought the texture of pavement onto the cactus. See, the pavement is perfectly there, but what's not there is the color. It didn't keep the gray. So it brought the shape and the image, but it took on the colors, doing its best to adapt to the surroundings. Okay. And then here as well, it brought pavement in, but on this side, it tried to turn bluish. And on this side, it tried to turn pinkish because this part of it has a bit of pink cloud underneath it. See that? And then if I go all the way to the bottom, I'll see how I brought the same old pavement became very dark in the areas that it was supposed to be over dark. And then here, it's actually becoming a bit lighter because it's leaving some light through. So just this tool adapts to the destination. You copy whatever color it's from, and then when you copy it, it tries to match and blend in as best as it can. Now it's impossible to blend a striped catwalk onto a cactus. So that's why it looks weird, right? But had we picked up from here a bird on a sunset sky and then brought it here onto a bird in a bright blue sky, the bird would be flying over the sky and it would be matching the bright blue sky and it would fit. Does that make sense? It wouldn't be a weird cactus catwalk, which don't blend. But if it made sense, if this was a little ladybug, for example, that I picked from over there from a yellow flower, and I put the ladybug in here, it would match its surroundings, that it would look like a ladybug on a green cactus. Yeah. All right. In fact, we have a photo there with a bee that we could try to put on this cactus, but I kind of think you got the message, right? It kind of helps to show with things that are absurd sometimes, because in most of the times I do this with a face, and I show you guys put in the people put eyeballs all over the forehead and noses all over the ears, and it's kind of funny. But you know, I'm trying to give you different examples, but as long as the more absurd it is, the easier you see the message. On the other hand, in this one without colors, it was harder to show you how this is matching, because it was matching here already. So that's why we had to go. But if you actually notice now, if you have the little guy here, this blue t-shirt was over white, and over here, the same blue t-shirt, which is over gray, is a darker blue. It's because it's trying to match the color of this person that was over white now into gray. Okay, so now you can see in that subtlety, but before you couldn't really see that because the color thing was hard to explain over gray. All right. So this is very cool when you need it to actually adapt and look like it matches. So let's do it backwards. Let's go to the cactus now. Let's go over, make sure, sample you need to sample the layer that has cactus on it. So now let's not be on the other sample. Let's be on the cactus layer. Okay. So select the pixels from the cactus layer. Then go to your, if you haven't changed tool yet, go, if you have, I had changed tool. I'm going to hover, my tool still has this woman. So I'm going to hover over an area that I see her, that I want to pick up some of this cactus spine. So I hold down my Option and Alt key, and I hover over one of these little spines. Click with my mouse, let go. Now I'm carrying a little bit of cactus around. See that? Now I'm going to go back to the crosswalk, and here I have a much bigger, because of the proportion cactus. I'm going to make it a bit smaller. So now I'm bringing a big thorn, cactus thorn, and I'm going to put it, make sure to be on the healing brush tool, because we don't want to create it in a new place. And over here, I'm going to bring in a bit of that cactus, and it's going to adapt and get kind of grayish. Okay. I mean, it tries to give you a bit of its color. Now, let me undo that. If I keep pressing again and again and kind of going, no, come on, just, you know, the more I press and the more I go over the same area, the better it gets defined, right? So I'm bringing a bit more of the color, because I'm really saying, no, I really, really mean it. I want you here. So the more I hold on to it, the more it tries to give me its original color. But it's in the edges where I'm blending into the new background that the color is slowly merging. See? So even though it brought some of that green in this area that's in the center, as it merges into the original, it slowly transitions to gray. Same with that. Does that make sense? It's doing its best to adapt. In this place, the green is much more intense. Here, it's doing its best to adapt to this new background. But it brought, of course, everything that I had, which includes the sky. All right, so did everyone bring some cactus into the crosswalks now? Penelope, is that a hand from before, or is it a new hand? Your hand is up. Oh, it was from before. Okay. So, all right. So, now that we turned this healing brush tool where we tried all of these things off, you can see the advantage of trying this on a new layer, because we can just turn all those messes off and get back to your original image. And now we can truly try to see if we can, you know, and not that you didn't truly try, maybe you already did try, but I was just messing around because I was learning. Now you can truly say, okay, how about if I put, let me turn that eyeball off again. We can just kind of ignore that. And let's say, let's put another manhole cover over here, for example. So now I'm going to do it for real. So I'm going to do it in a new layer that I want to keep up, because that one was me playing around. So now in this new layer, I'm going to go and I'm going to actually sample this manhole cover. Okay. So sample manhole cover, oh, big brush. And in fact, in this case, I can make a brush as big as the manhole cover, bring it over and probably just single click it and see how it's a darker manhole cover just because it's a darker area of my screen. And there you go. Now this I wanted to have there. I just wanted to make a new manhole cover. It is darker. If you pay attention, that's a dark area of the of the asphalt, and it's brought in a darker manhole cover. So this is the healing tool brush again, without funky messes. Just what I wanted to do, which is bring in another manhole cover. All right. Now, for better or for worse, this, if someone is paying close attention, is the identical manhole cover, which, you know, what chance that it's the exact, you know, exact twice this, the manhole cover and shape would be the same, but it wouldn't have the exact same patches and stuff like that. So in this case, you might want to modify and adapt the coloring a little bit of that as well. Or remember that we originally had a different manhole cover and we could have brought that one in because this wasn't a permanent modification. The original manhole cover is still there. All right, so let's save. And now I'm going to teach you a different content aware tool. These are pretty cool, right? All right. Last, we keep trying to use the same one, which I like for you to see different options, but it's also gets a little bit busy. So if it's getting a bit too busy and you have too many messes, I can show this to you on a different one, but let me see. Oops, I didn't mean to turn on. I just opened up my Illustrator, which I didn't mean to do. You guys are not seeing that, but this is so low on my dock. Let me move this up that I ended up just opening up my Illustrator in the background, my real one, not my VDI one. Let me get rid of that or my computer is going to start to falter. Here we go. Okay, so back to my brushes. Let me see if I can open another one of these to show you the second example. Yes, let's do this. Just so that we don't keep adding too much to that one, let's go back to our bridge because it'll get confused after some of you guys might have the right layers, others might have been a bit confused. Let's go open the final, the bottommost, the yellow wall. It's a JPEG, so just a double click will open it fine. Okay, and I'm going to show you a couple more of the content aware tools using this image. First of all, we know that if it's content aware, I've been telling you to do this on a separate layer. The tool I'm going to show you next, there's two tools I'm going to show you next that are content aware. I believe one of them will work on a non-destructive mode and the other one won't unless they changed it. So I'm going to test that. So give me a quick second. This one here, I'm going to do a new layer. Yeah, this one will work. And hold on. Yeah, looks like both are available to be done. These two tools I was going to show you up until a few years were not able to be done content aware. And I had read that this latest version was content aware. So I'm excited. Cool. So let's make a new layer. What I meant by that is in the past, you had to do it on the original pixel. So this would have been an example where we would have had to copy the bottom. But now I see that they're available for being done content aware. So let's go ahead and double click this and call this one the patch tool.
When I make a new tool, I get a group.
Okay, because instead of, okay, look down here. Next to the trash can, there's a plus sign. That's a new layer. You are clicking on this little folder icon that is making you a new group. So go to this one. Now I see why you're making new groups. So you made a new group once, and then with your redo, you kept making new groups. Now I see why I kept saying, how are you making a new group all the time? It's because once you clicked on that and you just kept redoing that step. Okay, so that is create a new group. This is create a new layer. Okay, did you get a new layer now?
Oh,
Penelope,
two layers.
what's that?
2 new layers.
2 or more new layers? Go ahead and undo so that
Yeah. I'll delete one.
yeah. So now this is the patch tool. So the patch tool would be when you want to fix or change something, right? And you don't want to, like right now, and let me go back to the crosswalk here. We wanted to get rid of one of these people, so we copied over some more crosswalk. I guess in all my back and forth, I ended up getting rid of that change. But anyway, we had copied up some, do I have it in here? Yeah, I had covered her over with some other part of this crosswalk, and I had to choose when and where. We also had, I think that's the only thing I eliminated. Then we added things, right? So now, in this case, what if we wanted a plain yellow background and we didn't want her there? So most people might go, well, we'll just crop it out, right? And you just kind of crop her out and you have less. But what if you need this size image? You really need the image that we've got. I'm noticing now that choosing this image wasn't a very intelligent choice. And I'll show you why. Because the lines of perspective are slightly different. And if I bring a bit of this in here, the lines won't match. So actually this is going to be a pretty hard job to get right, but we'll do our best. And if not, we'll have to go fix the perspective on this, which we can do, which might be a good way to teach you that, but I'm looking at the time. Let me show you first why I said it's going to be hard. But then after that, we can try to, if it doesn't work, we'll fix the perspective. So the patch tool is going to say, this is a blemish, for example. She shouldn't be there. Let's not have her there. So the patch tool is going to let me choose an area, and we can do it both ways. You can either first choose the area that you want to fix, or you can first choose what you want to cover, right? So let's just say that the first thing we want to do, make sure that over here you have sample all layers. That's very important at the very top. Turn on sample all layers. This is the part that makes it be doable on a different layer, meaning it makes it be non-destructive. And now I'm going to go and draw a line, not right next to her, but not too far either, because anything I mark is going to get changed. So about yay far away. I'm going to click my mouse and kind of draw around her. And when you get down here, go into the black and you'll see the line go all around her and then kind of go around her again, just about yay far away. You have to test it. All these things, it's a matter of testing. I'm going to get a little bit bigger to make sure you can see what I'm doing. So once again, I get a hold of the patch tool, which looks like a little patch. Okay. And then I'm going to try to get somewhat of a shape around her. About yay big. Is everyone there? Doesn't need to be perfect, just our first test. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna
sample all tools.
What's that?
I couldn't find sample all layers.
Okay, so once you've selected your patch tool first,
right,
and make sure that you're in your new layer up here. So make sure that you're selected, not your background, but your new layer. Select patch tool on the left, and then up here at the top, follow to the right, and you'll see the last thing is sample all layers.
No, it's transparent, then grayed out is used pattern, and then diffusion.
Okay, so then you're not on the patch tool. You might be on something else.
Oh, I thought it said patch tool.
Then,
square with the little lines around it, like sewing.
Yeah.
It's dark. Let me try it again.
Okay, so now watch up here. Do you have the same things that I have selected everywhere? You have different things selected.
No, I've got different things up there.
Okay, but do you see the little patch there?
Let's see if I can do that.
So if you click on the patch tool there, do you see patch?
It says, I see the word patch, but I don't see the symbol. Oh, there's the symbol there.
Mhm.
And then it says healing brush. There's a little arrow.
Just if you stop seeing the same things there, then I need to see your screen because I can't tell what's wrong. So show me your screen.
Okay, share screen.
At first, a few things can direct me to you, and if then it doesn't, then I need to see. Okay. So you're in your patch tool.
And there's the patch there.
Oh, see here under patch, it says normal. And I had content aware. So move to the right. I was telling you, got to keep matching everything. So here where it says patch normal. Yeah. On that. Click on that and then choose content aware. There you go.
Ah,
Sample all layers. So you always have, that's why I was saying, keep matching, keep reading to the left and keep telling me if it says the same thing. When it stops, then you need to make it match what I'm saying.
okay.
So if she had that one changed, maybe you guys had that one changed and I don't know. It could be that her computer had it different in her mind, but when I click on patch tool, keep making sure that all the choices are the same. And she had this normal here. So then she had these choices there. So that's why choices change depending on one or the other. So content aware is the one that I'm trying to teach you, the content aware tool version of it. Okay. Now, on the far right, it says sample all layers, but there's two other things here that matter. One is structure and one is color. This is what we're going to have to play with. Structure one means it's not going to respect structure too much. And color 6, it will respect color a lot. So if and you guys might have a different set of numbers there. Structure 1 means it'll care less about the structure, and structure 7, it'll be really careful with structure. You don't know until you try it first what's going to work. So I'd like to start by putting them both kind of in the middle, color and structure 4, and then seeing what happens and deciding if I need it to match better color or structure. So I'm just going to try with half and half. And let me show you first what that means. Okay, watch my screen. So I'm going to grab this girl and I'm going to drag. It's kind of weird because you see things happening there, but when I'm dragging the selection, see, I'm dragging the selection to the left right now.
Yeah.
I like Bruce's face. It's like in a candy store. He's always like, whoa. I have to say, I like those reactions. And now I'm going to put it over what I think is the best match. Now notice that I'm going to have a problem here in that I didn't select her shadow, right? So say that I think this is the best match. When I let go, Shop is now going to think, try to match it. And then that's what it tries. See how I had chosen a bright yellow?
Mhm.
Because of the content aware, it did its best to match the color and structure at a level of 4. And if I look at this now, it did a pretty good job with the color. But see the wavy patterns on the lines? Now, the moment I chose this one, I noticed, oof, this is going to be a hard one to do because these lines are going to be hard to match. But I'm going to hide my selection for a second, and not bad considering, but come on, really? This is the worst background to ever try to match because it's going to try to make something. I mean, it has to be perfectly straight. If this were sand or beach or sea, this would be perfect. You wouldn't have noticed it. But since it's straight lines, that's a bit of a mess. So let's go ahead and do an undo, and let's see if it helps if we say be 100%. Let's go as far as we can on structure. Let's give that a second try. And then I'm going to try that again and see if it helps. I don't know if we're going to be able to get this structure, but I'm going to try to match the placement of those, what are those called? Those
Corrugations.
dots, the corrugations. I'm going to try to match at the very top over her head, doing my best to see over there. I'm leaving the corrugations in the middle. I'm going to try to match it as best as I can so that by the time I let go, at the top of her head, on the place where her head was being, the line, the new spot that I'm choosing is kind of the same. And now I'm gonna let go and cross my fingers and hope for the best. Let's see. Now I'm hiding my selection with the Control H just to kind of see. And wow, this time it kept the lines straight, but now I'm having a bit more of an issue with the color. But the lines are straight this time because I told it to conserve the structure really well. So what if we tell it to conserve the structure and the color? Let me try. So Controller Command Z. And I'm going to say color, also go to the top. And I don't know, it might be too much for the computer to process. The more you process, the harder it is, but let's see. Let me try that again. And this time I'm going to try again to match very carefully at the bottom. Make sure that you don't go like this, and see how I'm leaving the bottom. Like, make sure I have the same bottom that it needs to have. And now I'm going to try to match the corrugated lines. And when I'm near as I think I can be, I'll let go of my mouse. And let's see now. Wow, not bad. This is very impressive, except for they have this big thing here. And what I'm noticing is that in my original selection, she has this weird thing happening right that she's walking into it. See that? So that's causing me some problems. So I'm thinking that what I'm going to do is I'm going to redo the selection around her so that I include that as something to be replaced. Here I had kind of hovered over this, and that's becoming a problem, right? So go to your history at this point, unless you have a really beautiful example, and back up beyond the first patch tool. So we start from 0, and I'm thinking that this will be much better when we include that as something to be changed, because we'll never get that to match really well, and we were crossing it. So now I'm going to bow back, and I'm again going to try to skirt around her, but this time I'm going to get further around her because there's a reason, right, to try to get that to be replaced as well, to see if we get a better choice this time. All right, and now I'm going to move it one last time, and I'm going to try to make sure that I match my lines as best as possible. So down there, that's looking good. And let go of my mouse. And now let's see what happens. I think this one is going to be pretty successful. I like it. I'm gonna hide my selection so you guys see what I'm doing. It's Controller Command H. And other than the fact that this line changed, but now I can fix that with the retouch tool. I kind of like what it's doing there. Clearly, this shadow is a bit of an issue. If I really wanted to avoid that, I'm going to Command Z again, and I'm going to choose one more time my selection tool. I didn't want to select this much, but if I were to select basically the shadow area as well, I will probably be very successful. Now, I'm changing a lot of pixels by doing this instead of the minimum amount, but maybe that's what this needs. And then over here, we have another line of those. Maybe if we can match this up to that line, and we can actually have that be in the right place. I don't know. I'm going to see if I go as far as over there. And if I put that line in the same place, I'm thinking the perspective is beginning to change here, but I don't know, maybe. And let go. So, you know, you try a few different things and you see until one works really well. And let me see, I'm gonna hide that. Huh, interestingly enough, now it did a good job, but it brought in some weirdness, which before I hadn't brought in. I think I tried to do too much. But anyway, as you can see, you keep trying until you get the one that really works. Yeah. I'm sure you in your own attempts are finding ones that work better or worse. I don't think I like what it just did. I think I went too far. The perspective is different enough that it got a bit harder. So I'm just going to click again and stick to what I had done the second time, which is include this thing here. and just move it as close as I can as possible, because I think the fact that the perspectives match here really helps. Okay. And by going further away, I messed up with that, and I'm just gonna try to avoid that problem by trying to get my lines to match as well as possible. Oops, bottom. And I think that was the best choice. And then I'm gonna try to work with the color differences here. Control 8. So over here, I'm gonna have to do some patching, but I think I like the rest better. Actually, the second time was better. The last two attempts were better than this one. This one I don't like as much, I think, but I try to avoid that. I'm getting into deeper trouble. So final attempt, I'm gonna avoid that line again. I'm gonna get closer to her, which could be dangerous, or it could be better, depends. And let's see if I just try to get a little bit closer. Is that gonna work better? Let's try. Now I completely excluded that line so that it won't be changed. And let's see if that's the best choice. Yeah, I think for this line it's better. And now what I need to do is I need to work with the colors on this thing, which is going to be easier than trying to get that line to work well. So I got little bit of a weird color situation here that I can patch in and of itself. I can just do something where the structure doesn't work and I just try to match color, or I can bring in some of these lines with the other tools that we learned, remember, with the clone tool, and I can just clone. Look at that, I'm bringing a manhole into here. I can actually now clone from up here. I'm gonna hit the spot where I have, what do you call these spots? But these things have a technical name. My goodness. The little
They're like little bolts or something holding the thing together.
I click on the middle of one of the bolts there. Maybe I'll go even higher, one of those bolts, because I know that the color will be trying to be matched. And I'm going to go over here to where I think one of these bolts are, so that they and the lines, see how they match. And I'm thinking that that bolt there and that line matches. And I'm going to just drag down across this and see. Oh, I have my selection still. See that line that's happening? I have the selection, so I need to deselect. So now you couldn't see it, but I had a selection there. So now I'm going to try to match this one and see if I can paint over it. There we go. I think I'll be able to. Oh, I went too far, and there I lost my bottom because I forgot to not go so far. I'm going to Command Z. But yeah, this is going to work. I'm going to paint over the area without going down to the bottom. And this is going to help match the coloring. Yeah, I like that. And then over here, I'll go and try to catch some of this middle stuff. And I'll try to put it in here. So now I'm combining both of the things I taught you. There we go. So I use the patch tool, and then I use the healing tool brush to match and patch a little bit around the things that were left a little bit weird. So are you guys, same thing for me, no option for sample all layers. Mira, did you fix that, or are you still in? Yeah. Can you rotate a sample once you've taken it? Yes, there is a way to rotate a sample. There's a sample I give sometimes of a guy that has one eye that's good and the other eye is kind of weird in the photograph. It's all like something happened and it's this blurry bit of a mess. Well, for example, another example with the gorilla, it's not the same, but the gorilla that we tried the other day that had one eye and another one, I could sample one eye and then have that eye flip over and change its orientation a little bit, and then that I pasted on the other side would be in a different orientation. All right, so I'm kind of happy with that. I can see that it's still an area that has a bit of darkness, so I would have to go in there and make a selection and just lighten that whole thing, maybe with the levels. I'm looking at the time, but it's 12:45. Let me just show you really quick because this class is over. If you can stay 5 more minutes, I'll show you the second tool and then you guys can play with it yourselves. So this was the patch tool. Everyone just focus for a second on the new tool and then you guys can play with it. I'm gonna turn off this eyeball. I'm gonna go back here, make a new layer and call this one the move tool. And again, this is actually a very hard image to have learned these two on because of the perspective. So you guys, if you're making it work, you're pretty heroic. Let me just show you the move tool and then we'll be done and then you guys can play and practice. So the move tool is the one next to the patch tool over here. It's a little crossover guys here. Okay, so I'm going to do, it's very similar how you use it. Again, make sure the sample all layers is on at the top. Make sure at the top it says move. I'm going to have it pay more attention to structure again, same as before, because structure seems to be important here. So I'm going to put it really high. And I'm going to now draw around her a little bit. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have her move. It's supposed to patch. I want her to be walking on this part. I'm going to click over here and drag her to where I want her to truly be walking, which is somewhere over here. Let's match the background. Make sure I drop her where the corrugated is similar enough. See, in the top it works, but in the bottom left, the corrugated perspective has changed a lot already. But anyway, I'll let go and hit my return key to make that work. And it's doing its best. This is not going to work very well there, but, and now it did two things this time. It actually moved her over here and it patched over there. So it's kind of like it had to patch there and move her there. So it had to soften this area to make as if nothing was there, similar to what the patch tool had done. But on top of that, it had to make her edges blend into the new spot. As I said, this is kind of the hardest image to have tried this on because the background is so precise, but even then, that's pretty impressive. As you already saw, we can go and work on this color and we can work on these edges. Try on something that doesn't have this crazily intense perspective and you'll see that it'll work really well. Really quickly, if I were to try to, I'm gonna turn this off, if I were to try to move with the same tool, if I were to have tried to move this person over here to the left, it probably will do a very good job of it. You have to hit return to make it work and see in this case how well it worked. Beautiful, right? Because come on, how easy is it against this background? It was much harder in the other one because it was such a precise perpendicular background where even a little bit of a tone of yellow changes, but over here it worked really well. And then the patch tool, if I had wanted to just eliminate one of these guys, I can just go do this and have it pick up from here and it would have worked beautifully well. Okay, so the same tool brought here. Here I had too much stuff going on the left side. So now this I did straight on the layer, I noticed. So I did it in a destructive manner, but anyway. Okay, so this is a much more forgiving background. This is the least of forgiving backgrounds, but you got, you saw how to use it, play around with something better than this one, or more forgiving than the yellow background, but you saw how they work. And now I want you guys to do some testing. Send me some screenshots if you have any. Okay. All right. So I'm going to, oh, Bruce left and he mentioned that he's traveling. Okay, I'm going to email him because he wanted me to show him something, but we have another week or two. So unless there's any questions, I'm happy to answer some questions, but other than that. Nope, no questions. All right, don't forget to sign out of VDI for those of you who are on VDI, to sign out of the Google Drive file stream. and play around, do stuff, have fun, open up other files and try this on, and then let me know how it went. Okay,
Thank you. Take care.
bye, guys.
Thanks, Diane.
Bye-bye.